NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. It's day 35 of the federal government shutdown. The Trump administration says it will restart SNAP food benefits, but pay beneficiaries only half of their regular amount for November. NPR's Jennifer Ludden reports that still leaves many people worried about having enough to eat.
Many SNAP recipients are parents, like Shalise Hooks in Phoenix. She's a widow and unemployed with a 15-year-old son.
And it's hard because he's in high school, and when he comes home, he's hungry. It's okay, Mama. No, it's not okay.
A federal judge ordered the Trump administration to use emergency funds to keep SNAP going. Providence, Rhode Island Mayor Brett Smiley says it never should have taken a lawsuit for that.
To threaten the stability of families who are already struggling is wrong.
States must now recalculate to distribute the partial payments, which the administration says could take weeks or even months in some places. Jennifer Ludden, NPR News, Washington.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. His family says he had pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. Cheney served 2 terms under former President George W. Bush and advocated for the U.S. military to go into Iraq, a stance that was polarizing for Americans. Jonah Goldberg is the editor-in-chief of the online site The Dispatch. He says the deeply conservative Cheney had extraordinary power as a vice president.
He comes from an era where you could be a fierce partisan, but also a serious policy intellectual, and also a patriot who sometimes some people would say to a fault, puts the country first beyond sort of partisan or popular considerations. And I think a lot of that is sort of gone these days. He was just a serious man.
He spoke to NPR's Morning Edition. Israel's Holocaust Research Center says it has documented the names of 5 million out of the roughly 6 million Jewish victims of the Nazis in World War II. It's a major milestone in Holocaust research, as Itai Stern reports from Tel Aviv.
The Yad Vashem Holocaust Research Memorial has been documenting names of victims for decades. Lately, artificial intelligence tools were used to scan hundreds of millions of handwritten documents to help reach 5 million names. The center estimates it can still uncover around 250,000 more names, but that there are not enough records to name all 6 million victims. The recovery of names is a campaign that involves researching personal letters of Holocaust survivors, diaries, Nazi documentation, and deportation lists. The head of Israel Holocaust Memorial said that they will search for more names so every victim is remembered. For NPR News, I'm Itai Stern in Tel Aviv.
On Wall Street, the Dow is down 140 points. The Nasdaq is down more than 1%. It's NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. It's the first major election day of President Trump's second term, and elections are being held in many cities and towns across the country. In Fall River, voters will choose a mayor, and it's between incumbent Mayor Paul Coogan and newcomer Gabriel Boomer Amaral. Also, 14 candidates are vying for 9 city council seats there, and 10 candidates are running for 6 school committee seats. Busy day. Next door in New Bedford, all 11 city council seats are up for grabs there, with 7 candidates running for 5 at-large seats. 4 people are running for 3 school committee seats, and in both cities, polls close at 8 p.m. Except for the 55 cities and towns here in Massachusetts with elections today, all other municipalities in the state have their annual elections in the spring. And as the Trump administration keeps trying to shut down the offshore wind industry, officials at Vineyard Wind say their turbines have more than doubled its power production. New Bedford Light reporting that the third quarter data released on October 31st by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission shows that Vineyard Wind sold approximately 136,000 megawatt hours of energy. That's up from 57,000 in the second quarter. The numbers mean that Vineyard Wind sold off enough energy to power 50,000 homes, up from 33,000 earlier in the year. In sports, the Bruins in action tonight. They are at the Islanders in New York. In the forecast, sunny, windy, mid-50s today, mostly clear, low 40s overnight. We're at 52 degrees in Boston right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, supporting books, radio, podcasts, film, television, theater, and more to bridge science and the humanities, and the listeners who support this NPR station.
Welcome to Boston Public Radio and GBH and NEPM, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. I'm Marjorie Egan. He is Jim Browder. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Ed Markey is going to zoom in to speak with us at noon. Tomorrow we'll be back here at the library again with the Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura Healey, taking our questions and yours. The Governor will be here from 11 to noon. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Marjorie. We're joined now at the library desk by Attorney General Andrea Campbell. Recently announced she is running for re-election. She's with us for the entire hour, taking our questions and yours for the November edition of Ask the AG. Attorney General, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to be here.
I forgot
Thank
to
you
say.
for the bathroom.
Oh, you're welcome.
The little things.
It's the least we can do.
The AG was locked out of the bathroom.
That's very
We let
sad.
her in.
Very sad.
We thought she was a responsible person.
It's like gratitude. Thank you, Marjorie.
The number to call or text is 877-301-8970. And if you're at the library, you can come find our colleague Zoe, who would be right there. And if you tell her what you want to ask, she will try to connect you with the AG. So welcome again.
Thank you for having me.
So, Attorney General, let's start with SNAP benefits. You joined other attorney generals in filing this lawsuits against the government to get this money for people who need food. But the president says there's only enough for half the money that's due in November, even though judges said he could, I believe the judges said he could fund more. So
Yes.
is half enough for the judges, right? And do we know when people are going to get the money?
So I was proud to lead a coalition of Democratic AGs across the country, over 22, and 3 governors who joined from 3 different states that had a Republican AG that was unwilling to join us. And frankly, but for our lawsuit and this decision from the court, people wouldn't be getting their SNAP benefits soon. So we're proud of that work, of course. What the court made clear is that the Trump administration is required to tap into these SNAP reserve funds for the month of November to fund SNAP recipients. And this is a fund that's close to $6 billion. But they also have the authority to tap into other resources available to them, Section 32 funds, they call them, other funds that are in the billions. And what we saw instead was a response from Trump and the Trump administration and the USDA to partially fund these resources for the month of November. This is problematic in a few different ways. One is they made an intentional policy choice. They could tap into billions to fully fund every single person, all 42 million Americans in the country, including 1.1 million folks here in Massachusetts. They could fully fund them. And this is mainly children, seniors on fixed income, veterans, people with disabilities. So they didn't do that. What's also worse is not only do they have the money, this is the first time in the history of this country, whether a Democrat or Republican president, where you have ever had SNAP benefits not funded, even during a government shutdown. It has never happened. So this is an intentional policy choice by the president. Put aside Congress for a minute. This is all within the hands of the president. And so our court order is forcing them to do something. Of course, I wish we were fully funded. We're doing our best to get the money out as soon as possible. Based on our conversations here in Massachusetts, it looks like folks could get relief maybe in about a week. But even that delay that we're seeing, and that's my last point, is because of this administration. They knew, and they said at the beginning during the government shutdown, that they would fully fund. So we waiting for those resources to come. A week before November 1st, they said, no, we're not doing it. So then, of course, we mobilized to file this lawsuit to get funds to our folks here in Massachusetts, and by extension, to folks all across this country.
I have a couple of questions. I'm not as clear, needless to say, on the judge's decision as you are. I do know, I think it was McConnell, who identified that additional source of funding, the agriculture adjustment dollars from which they could take. My understanding is the judges in these cases said they had to fund it. If they have to fund it and there are other sources, are you going back to court to ask that the other 50% be mandated to be funded out of this, as one example, is $23 billion from the feds have?
So what the court said is, yes, they have to fund the program. There was then a back and forth on whether or not, what to do with the SNAP reserve funds that are explicitly for SNAP. They said you must use those. And then there was a back and forth on whether or not they could use other resources. The judge did say you have the authority to take any resources, including Section 32 funds, to fully fund it. So now it's a policy choice where they're refusing. We're reviewing everything. My biggest thing is, yes, you can go back to court, but that will cause possibly additional delay. People need this money yesterday. They needed, the funds stopped on November 1st on Saturday. So there are people who tried to use their card. They have no funding. They need it now. Going back to court causes an additional delay. It's not off the table, but we're hoping that at least to get money out as soon as possible through these partial funds, push the administration to do more, and then if we have to go back to court, we will.
One very quick, the judge, one of the, or both of the judges did order that they fully fund this, though. Is that not true?
No, that's not true.
They said, oh, they're just talking about the limited fund. Okay, one last question. If they're doing 50%, we know the governor came up with $4 million to help, I think, to the food banks and that sort of thing. She decided not to tap the $8.5 billion rainy day fund. Is that a decision you're comfortable with, or would you like her to come up with more money to attempt to fill as much of this 50% hole as she could in November?
That's a question for the governor and the legislature.
What would you recommend to her if she asked you?
That's a question for them. What I'm saying is my job as Attorney General was to I'll be frank, get my ass in court, file that lawsuit, and get this Trump administration to do their job. Because let me be clear, right now this is a $240 million a month
in Massachusetts alone.
Just Massachusetts alone is $240 million. And so I think what the governor and the State House are saying is, it's not sustainable, and we don't have those type of resources. And frankly, we shouldn't have to close this gap. This is on the Trump administration, and it is. And I think I want folks to understand that. People in these positions of elected authority have to be accountable to the people, just like I am, and that these folks are making intentional choices that are harming people. And right now, in the context of SNAP benefits, the president has the full authority to tap into whatever resources he possibly could, like he said on his social media channel, that he could to fully fund, and he's choosing not to. And we're going to keep pushing them, lifting up the harm that it's having with the hopes that they put more money into the pot. But I think for me right now, the practical impact is we need to get money out there quickly. We're approaching Thanksgiving and the holidays. We're approaching Veterans Day when even veterans are struggling. So if we can get them some money sooner than later, that would be good.
One last thing about this, just to bring people up to speed on Trump on Truth Social, which you just mentioned, said in capital letters he'd be honored to fund this if the court showed him the way. So even if you're right, and obviously you are right, that the judge didn't mandate that they use funds beyond that $6 billion fund, they did show him a pathway, namely this additional $23 billion, right, and he has chosen not to use that pathway. Okay, fine. One last thing before we get to the calls at 877-301-8970. RFK Jr.'s latest gambit is he's questioning the safety of a drug that has been declared perfectly safe for a quarter of a century, mifepristone, which obviously we know is critical in light of the Dobbs case. And there have been stories that both you and Governor Healy, what are we doing to address the possibility that RFK Jr. may take an extreme step and make it much more difficult for a woman to get mifepristone?
So we're continuing to follow this as we have been from the very beginning. I'm really proud that I chair actually the committee on all things reproductive health care for all the AGs in the country. And so we have been following this issue for a long time. One is, of course, we're appropriate filing lawsuits to protect mifepristone, to also protect the FDA that went through a robust process. And there's a very robust to not only demonstrate that mifepristone was safe, but that it was useful for certain purposes. And we were a part of protecting that very process and the credibility of the FDA. So that will continue. And also, speaking of the governor in this administration and the folks in the State House, coordinated effort to make sure folks here in Massachusetts had access as well. So we are continuing to be a part of a coalition to ensure not only that folks have access here, but also protecting providers and others that provide services and support for reproductive health care to other states, even with the latest passage of the SHIELD law and the updates there. So we'll keep doing our part, and we're evaluating everything coming from RFK and other parts of the administration.
You didn't happen to see the Frontline piece on RFK Jr. last week, did you?
No.
If I may, and I think I speak for Marjorie, if you have time in your schedule, it's worth a watch. Michael Kirk did it with Frontline.
Yeah, but you don't want to watch it on a Saturday night when you're trying to relax.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've seen a lot on RFK even before that piece. That was quite disturbing, to say the least.
Our number is 877-301-8970. The Attorney General is with us till the top of the hour. Jane from Concord, thank you very much for calling.
Hello, Jane.
Hi.
Hi.
It's my first time getting to speak with A.G. Campbell.
Great.
I appreciate that. My question is a bit generic, but I have a personal twist too. I'm just curious, how does one get the AG's office interested in a civil type of crime? We obviously always worry about violent crimes, but if, in my case, there's someone who's trying to defraud an estate that affects my family, how would I get your office interested in that?
So we have criminal authority, but we have significant civil authority. We do civil enforcement cases all the time, Jane, including in the context of consumer protection. So I'm going to have you stay on because it sounds like yours is very specific. Martin from my team is here, and you'll stay on with him, share your details, your follow-up contact, and we'll follow up with you personally.
So don't hang up, Jane. We'll get your contact info and share it with the Attorney General's office. Jane, thank you for the call.
You know, Attorney General, the President's talked about sending the National Guard into all sorts of places. They have been in Washington, D.C., obviously. Boston has been also on that list. How do you prepare for that, or what do you do about that?
So we have been in contact with California, Illinois, Oregon, me personally with their AGs, as well as at the staff level, prepared for the possibility that the National Guard could be deployed here. And we are prepared if they were to come. Of course, I hope they don't, because the narrative they're suggesting is that they would come here to promote public safety, and we are doing just fine. If anything, what we're seeing in other communities across the country is they are eroding public safety and trust between law enforcement and community. In addition to that, they're perpetuating fear. And they're here and designed as we approach Veterans Day for emergency situations, a major flood, a major emergency in a state where we want to call on them and they're trained to respond. They're not necessarily trained to show up in, say, the city of Boston or even other gateway communities or other municipalities here in Massachusetts to promote public safety, to investigate crimes, to respond appropriately. Our state police are showing up. Our local law enforcement is showing up. They already have a tough enough job with ICE roaming our communities. So if they were to come here, we'd be prepared, but we hope they don't.
What does prepared mean, Attorney General?
That means engaging with the National Guard who's here, the governor's office, the state legislature, law enforcement, every stakeholder you can think of, municipalities, municipal leadership, drafting paperwork. Anytime you file a lawsuit, it takes a lot of human capital and resources and work. And frankly, you have to be prepared beforehand. So we hope we never have to file anything.
One last thing before we get back to the calls. A related note. As you know, California passed a law banning the wearing of masks by law enforcement people at every level, including the federal level. There's some question as to whether or not a state can require federal authorities to do it. Nevertheless, it hasn't been tested. Judge Young, who was nominated, I believe, by Ronald Reagan, said that law enforcement people who wear masks are like cowardly desperados and the despised Ku Klux Klan. That's a federal judge speaking. Do you support legislation? The Senate apparently does, according to the Senate president, that would ban masks on all levels of law enforcement? So
we've been in communication with them. Specifically, this has come up in the context of ICE. And we said this legislation is better done at the federal level. Why? Because to your point, to be able to implement that against ICE officials, nearly impossible. And I don't mince my words there. And what I mean by that is our authority in holding ICE officials accountable is much more challenging than holding, say, our state police or local municipal leaders accountable, or local law enforcement, I should say, accountable. And we've seen that, even when we're looking and tracking how they're showing up in our communities, not just masked, but possible racial profiling, et cetera. We are tracking these cases with the hopes that maybe if there's something that we can hold them accountable for, we will, but very difficult. And why it's even more disappointing, to say the least, is if there's something in the context of local law enforcement, state police, I have more authority there. In the context of ICE, this would be your U.S. attorney, where you would say, hey, they are in our communities perpetuating fear, wearing masks, no transparency, no accountability. Our local law enforcement can't do that. You should be holding them accountable. That's the U.S. attorney's job. They're not doing that. And so it's just very difficult to enforce. And my thing is, we don't want to just be passing things for the sake of passing things. Will it have an impact in actually getting ICE not to wear masks? Very difficult, because you can't, the authority that we have to hold them accountable in their actions is also very limited, and we're seeing that.
But the reality is, as I know you'd agree, neither the U.S. attorney nor the federal government is about to do what you'd like them to do. So are you 100% convinced that a state law would have no effect? And if you're not 100% convinced, why not do it and test it and see in the courts what they do.
We can go back and forth. I think they're having that conversation now, and we could try to test things. But at the end of the day, Jim, as you know, you've gotten to know me over the years. I want to have an impact that people can feel in the immediate. And let me tell you, what we're dealing with now is not only a federal administration, U.S. Attorney's Office, and others that have authority to do something and aren't. Even if we were to try to hold them accountable, in attempting to even do that, if we were to arrest an ICE official, it's very difficult. A judge might even throw it out because of federalism. But what's worse is retaliation and retribution coming from this federal administration is very real. The governor has spoken about this in different settings and trying to even thank airport officials for doing their job while not being paid. And some of the retribution that was inflicted on some of those airport officials for her extending gratitude. We obviously saw the indictment of Tish James. So I'm just saying there's also a culture right now and an attack on even trying to hold folks accountable that makes even our jobs much more difficult. I have no fear, don't get me wrong, but these are considerations that others are thinking about and thinking about how we do our jobs well. And if I could end on this note, because it's Tuesday, it's an election day across the country, including here in Massachusetts, I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Our tools at times will hit a wall, including because of federal laws that are not on our side in terms of our authority, limit our authority, I should say. But civic engagement has tremendous power. People have tremendous power. And I encourage folks to vote because you have a say in who occupies these positions and these elected offices. And if they're not delivering for you the accountability you want to see for ICE, your SNAP benefits, your public service loan forgiveness program that we filed a lawsuit on yesterday, your heat assistance that now is under threat, then replace them with other people.
Attorney General, you just mentioned retaliation against airport officials. What do you mean?
So, you know, you'll be on the governor will be on, I think, tomorrow, so you can ask her about this. She shared this at an event. It wasn't a public event, but she shared it, and I think it's worth lifting up because it resonated with me. You know, obviously, as the governor, she goes around the airport and thanks folks when she's maybe traveling. And she thanked folks who maybe work for the state, but also folks who are currently working for the federal government that are not getting paid. And I think those folks were called into maybe a union meeting or something like that, where they were maybe chastised or something happened. I don't have all the details, but something occurred post her extending that gratitude, where they were in some way called into some meeting or something.
Wow.
Because maybe the president got wind that she extended that gratitude. So this is what we're talking about. This is the state of affairs. And people aren't making this up. Even as we ask our nonprofit leaders and other folks to stand up in this moment in time and do what's right, we're mindful of the significant threats that people may face personally and professionally by doing the right thing. I don't shy away from that. I think it's important, but just wanted to name that.
Phil in Danvers, thanks for calling. You're on with the Attorney General.
Hi, Phil.
Hi there. I have a question for the Attorney General, and my question is, if the Attorney General's responsibilities, one of the responsibilities, are to enforce the laws of the state, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when question 2 on the ballot was approved about auditing the state legislature, which question was voted by a majority of the voters, which, from what I understand, became law. I just don't understand why you're not enforcing it.
So thank you for that question. I am attempting to. So I agree with you, Phil. Question 1 is the law. I absolutely support the will of the voters, and I take that very seriously. In order to enforce question 1, we have asked the auditor for certain information, including what would you like to audit the legislature for? Because she has some authority to audit them for some things, and she does not constitutionally have some authority to audit them on other things. In addition to that, we asked, who do you want to sue? Because when you go into court, you have to sue somebody. Who? Who are you naming in the lawsuit? In addition to that, what is the relief or remedy you are seeking? I represent almost every state agency and state official in the Commonwealth as your Attorney General. We have not received responses to those questions. And I then am not able to go into court and then to bring no information to the court and the judges until she gives us that information. I know, Phil, that may not be what you want to hear, but I am with you. I absolutely agree. Question 1 is the law. I would love to be talking about something else and for this to be enforced constitutionally, because there are real constitutional limitations on what she can and can't do. And until she gives us that basic information, we can't proceed and go into court to actually enforce this law as deemed by the voters.
Phil, thanks. Can I ask a follow-up to that? I think it was on our show a few weeks ago where Diana DiZoglio, the auditor, said, essentially, and she said it since in many places, if the Attorney General is not happy with my answers, why doesn't she just sue me to get the answers? Well, you're making a face. But the more I think about this, as you acknowledge and Phil said, this is the law of the Commonwealth. And let's, for the moment, say you're 100% correct in your analysis of this.
I am.
She might say she's close to 100% too, but for argument's sake right now, one public official, by your standard, is frustrating the will of the people. And it seems to me that an attorney general should not let that happen. I mean, let's assume you're right for purposes of discussion, and the auditor never gives you what you consider to be necessary information to enforce the law. This is a 1-year anniversary, obviously,
That's right.
Election Day.
And I was fully supportive.
So does that mean if she never gives you what we want, what you believe you need, that the law will never be enforced? That seems to be where we are.
If the auditor doesn't give us what we need, she then holds herself back from being able to audit the legislature. This is not on us.
But I voted for this. I don't care. I don't want to hear. I don't mean.
You voted for the auditor to audit the legislature.
Right.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
She can only audit certain things of the legislature.
Understood.
And so the legislature is saying, you can't audit, say, A, B, and C. But you can maybe do C, D, and E. Mm-hmm. She needs to make it crystal clear to us, if she wants to sue them for not complying with her, what is it not only that you want, who do you want to sue? Because why? The courts will get involved because there are constitutional limitations. And this is what sucks, I will be clear. I'm with Phil. It's been a year. There are constitutional limitations. And what's so sad about our process here, about ballot questions generally, and I've been trying to hammer this, but it's hard, is when you actually approve a ballot question, we just approved a record number of ballot questions, at no point, and this is, I blame this on the founders, who are, I think, all men, God bless them all, at no point in our analysis to a question that goes to our incredible voters, is it determined if it's constitutional or not, which is ridiculous. You would want it to do that at the beginning, not at the end. Our process doesn't even allow for it. So then we get into this hiccup, which is at the end, we are then asking the constitutional question after the voters proceeded. And so that's actually something, a process we may want to evaluate changing, but that's the hiccup that voters have to understand.
We got to take a break. I have one more question.
Sorry, Phil.
No, one more question about this afterwards, and then we got to take a break.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break. We're talking to the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Andrea Joy Campbell. We're going to be right back with her. She's going to be with us at the top of the hour, taking our questions and yours. 877-301-8970 is the number. This is BPR Ask the Attorney General. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and at the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, George Balanchine's Jewels, a ballet inspired by the sparkle of emeralds, rubies, and diamonds, opens Boston Ballet's new season. It's the company's first revival of the classic in more than a decade. Mikko Nissinen, Boston Ballet's artistic director, joins us. Plus, Amari Paris-Jeffries, president and CEO of Embrace Boston, is here for his Election Day take on the state of democracy. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Moderna. mNEXSpike COVID-19 vaccine, mRNA, by Moderna, is available. More information about mNEXSpike is available from pharmacists and medical providers. And Global View Communications, providing customized inclusion strategy recommendations to organizations that align with their culture and business priorities. Learn more at inclusionitsworthit.com. Global View Communications. Inclusion, it's worth it. And Safety Insurance, offering a variety of home insurance products to cover your home's increased value. You can ask an independent agent about safety insurance. Safety Insurance will help you manage life's storms. And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz. Their signature double clam chowder is available for purchase at all Market Basket locations. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
Welcome back to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We're live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Senator Ed Markey zooms in at noon. Tomorrow, 11 to noon. The governor's here. If you're just tuning in, it's a November edition of Ask the AG with Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell. You can call her or text her at 877-301-8970. Before we get back to the calls, just a simple, you didn't address, if the auditor continues to not give you information that you believe you must have to proceed in any fashion, it's conceivable that this law will never be enforced. That's a fair statement?
And I put that on the auditor.
But that is true.
I put that on the auditor.
And that is true.
And that would be unfortunate because there's a pathway forward.
Okay.
And I want to just add one point. I mentioned earlier that I represent every constitutional office, the legislature at different times, like state agencies. That's one of my jobs as Attorney General of this state, is state representation. Every time someone's come to us and we get loads of lawsuits, there's a process to follow before we represent them and go into court. She is the only one who has not followed that process. And that's what I'm trying to make clear to the voters by saying it's not personal, it's not an attack on the auditor, it's not suggesting she's not doing a good job. That's not it at all. Question one is the law. I want to have her be able to go and audit the legislature, but there are constitutional limitations of that. And those don't just go away overnight. And I wish our ballot process were different. We determined this at the outset. We don't. But there's a pathway forward if the auditor follows the process like everybody else.
Okay.
And you can't bring the political into the court. They want the facts.
We should also remind Phil that you told us several months ago you actually voted for question one. Last thing, she is saying you got a big increase in your budget from the State House to reward you for blocking the audit. Is that true?
That's nonsense.
Okay, let's go. Kate in Concord, hi.
We got it for Trump.
Hi, thanks.
No offense. To file our SNAP lawsuit and to file, to protect public service loan forgiveness programs and the billions of dollars that we're trying to protect in Massachusetts investments.
Thank you. Hi, Kate. You're on with the AG.
Sorry, Kate.
No problem. Thank you, Jim, Marjorie, and AG Campbell every single day. Attorney General, I sent you an email yesterday, which I never do, in response to something that I read, and if I could just read a couple of quick lines of it. When the rule of law breaks down, successful resistance requires non-compliance and soft secession. Blue states stop cooperating with federal enforcement. Sanctuary police policies expand beyond immigration to include state-level protection for targeted individuals and organizations. Interstate compacts that bypass federal authority. Parallel systems that don't depend on federal cooperation, making it politically costly and operationally difficult for this administration to implement its agenda in states that refuse to participate. I would love your thoughts on that.
Well, I have to thank you. I have to look for the email, which you sent yesterday. But Kate, thank you. I will say everything's on the table. And what I mean by that is our number one most impactful tool is our litigation. As we saw in the SNAP case, we don't file that litigation. We don't lead the way here in Massachusetts. Folks don't get their SNAP benefits, which will come. Same is true for our public schools. And so right now we have 41 lawsuits against this administration, 41. And they tried to come for $3.24 billion in Massachusetts investments. Our lawsuits have protected $3.01 billion in Massachusetts investments. That means $210 million continuing to flow to our public schools, which would not have opened on time without our lawsuit. That means our clinical trials, some of our NIH funding, as you know, infrastructure projects. So our litigation tool we're maximizing, Kate. But we're also in the State House passing legislation, the SHIELD Act, that updates SHIELD Law 2.0. We were helpful in drafting that to protect providers who are providing reproductive health care, who are also training folks in other states. These legislative solutions are going to protect us long term. We have more expansive laws here and more rights here than sometimes our federal government gives us, so we can keep expanding those, to your point. We also are beefing up and doing what we can through our grants tool. So funding some of the work. We just put out $300,000 for eviction ceiling, for example, knowing the federal government's doing nothing on housing. People who, for example, win their eviction case, still have an eviction record, but need help with legal services to get it sealed. So we are thinking outside the box, and we're also talking to other AGs on your blue wall, not just in our litigation perspective, but how we come together maybe on healthcare and other places to protect our people. So I'm with you, Kate, just to say big picture, everything's on the table. And then because we're on election day, I also want to remind folks, equally important is our people doing what they can, continuing to show up to work, continue to fight the fight, but also voting to hopefully have different elected leadership that gets what you're talking about.
Kate, thank you much for your call.
Attorney General, speaking of lawsuits, you spoke with our colleague Paris Olson on Rooted about this lawsuit you're filing against the Department of Justice, who wants new restrictions on federal funding supporting survivors of domestic violence. Well, what's that? Could you elaborate on that?
So thank you for lifting this up. I was glad to be on Rooted, lifting up the fact that we get billions of dollars across the country for victim assistance. These are not only folks who have experienced family violence, domestic violence, assault. These are folks who experience even some more egregious crimes, part of connected to someone who's been murdered. So it's assistance to victims directly. It's assistance even with burial costs and other things. In addition to that, to nonprofits that serve folks. So maybe they need help in accessing an attorney. Maybe they need housing assistance. You think about domestic violence. The Trump administration has sought to take away billions across the country, millions here in Massachusetts. We filed 2 lawsuits that are still working our way through the courts, but we have been successful in protecting some of that funding. And I do that not just as Attorney General, I also do it as the board chair for our Massachusetts Office of Victim Assistance. So the direct service work is substantial. In addition to that, it's hundreds of nonprofits that we're also supporting that support victims. And we don't need folks not showing up to report crimes, for example. We want people to report crimes. Some of this also supports that work. So we'll keep fighting to protect it.
Does this have to do with immigration?
There is one particular lawsuit that we challenged the fact that they were trying to say can't go to folks who are immigrants or don't have proper paperwork. We said that's nonsense. If someone is in Massachusetts, I don't care what their status is. If they're assaulted outside the library, they deserve accountability and support while being in our great state. And so we push back on that to say they're human beings. And in addition, if you start to chill who we're helping as victims, by the way, they're victims, folks will be less likely to come to local law enforcement to report crimes. So there's a ripple effect in terms of promoting public safety. So we challenge all of that as unlawful. And so far, we're being successful as things are still working their way through the courts.
We are going to take another phone call, but while we do, Jose is over there. If he can approach the mic, we'll get to him immediately after David from Conway. You're on with the Attorney General. Welcome, David. Hi.
Hi. I have a question about my right while I am protesting on an overpass with a banner that says Trump equals fascism. If I am approached by a van full of masked people who will not identify themselves, what are my rights? Can I protect myself?
David, we got it. How about it, Attorney General?
Oh, so, sorry, it looks like something going on in the library. First of all, David, thank you. We stand up for the First Amendment. We stand up for people's rights, and sometimes it may be uncomfortable conversations. People don't say nice things to me all the time, but they have a First Amendment right. And if anything, we are standing up for that and making sure that people are not criminalized as a result of exercising their First Amendment rights. So it depends on the context, right? There are some cases where people are saying, well, we responded, and while they were exercising their First Amendment rights, for example, they then were threatening us in some way, and they were detained for some reason. I don't know the facts. I would just say it's a case-by-case basis, but I stand up for anyone who is exercising their First Amendment rights.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Margaret.
I was just going to ask about
Thank you, David, for calling in.
Someone asked Speaker Mariano,
We promised Jose. Can we
I'm
take?
sorry. I'll wait till after
Let's
Jose.
take Jose's
I'm
question.
Sorry. Go
then
ahead.
Jose,
Yep.
you're on with the Attorney General. Jose's in the library. Hi, Jose.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, AG. Thank you, Markey and Jim, for the show.
Of course, thank you.
I came here because I feel I've been to feel a discrimination at the workplace.
Okay.
Like, for example, in January, my supervisor said he's going to treat us different because we are a different people of color in that warehouse.
Let me on 3 times, okay? I'm going to demonstrate lack of freedom of speech. 3 times you've done this.
Okay, Jose, just wait 1 second while this gentleman decides to calm down.
Right now, in the U.S., prison camps are being built.
Okay,
Prisoners and guillotine.
can we ask this gentleman to leave, please? Okay, we're going to take a John back in Brighton. We're going to take a 30-second break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to BPR. A little disturbance there was handled. Thank you for all who dealt with that. Jose, I'm really sorry. My apologies for interrupting you. Did you get the question? Were you done? Or?
So, he started
then
with
please
discrimination and
continue,
employer
Jose. My apologies.
That's okay, I understand. Thank you. And I feel I've been discriminated at the workplace. Like in January this year, my supervisor said he's going to treat us different.
Okay.
In October last month, me and him have an argument. I went to the HR to complain. The HR gave me an idea to meet the general manager. On Friday, I met the general manager, explained to him what happened.
Can I make a suggestion, Jose, if I may? Only, and I don't want to speak for the Attorney General, but it sounds like your thing is so based on the facts of your individual case. The Attorney General is suggesting if you speak to her colleague and do the facts that she
and give
and her
us
office
your phone
will,
number. Exactly.
Is that okay, Jose?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for broaching
Come
the
over
issue.
here. Don't go that
and
way.
if you go right there, you'll
Martin's
get
right
attention.
Here. Thank you,
you for
thank you, Martin.
Thank you for dealing with that. We appreciate it.
You know, I just wanted to ask you, Attorney General, you were speaking before about all these ballot questions. Apparently we got 40 initiative petitions this year in the ballot. Well, Renee Loth wrote a piece in the Globe basically saying that the surge in ballot questions is a reflection of people having written off the legislature. Speaker Mariano was asked about this mask thing with the ICE agents, and he said something like, this is not the year to talk about this. And I thought, well, if this isn't the year to talk about it, what is the year to talk about it? And even the Secretary of State, William Calvin, said in this Renee Loth piece, if you're looking for a cause for why there are all these initiative petitions, it's legislative inaction, no question about it. And of course, we have the least productive legislature in the country. So I know you have to work with the legislators, so you probably don't want to criticize them, but I think she's got a point. I mean, 40 initiative petitions, people feel as though they've only passed 10 bills in 2025. That's it?
I have a different frame, but not to discount when everyone can have their own perspective and frame. I actually, when we saw the record number of ballot initiatives, we saw that people were inspired to be civically engaged. And there's a whole range in which to be options to be civically engaged. You can vote, like vote today on election day. I tell folks, run for office. You don't like the person who's in the seat? Well, run. Replace them, right? You can do that too. Or, of course, through ballot initiatives, you can push different policy ideas, et cetera, make our elections more expansive. I see that all as a good thing. I also see it maybe in response to what's happening federally, people being just so disturbed by what's happening at the federal level, in the egregious posture of this administration to commit such unlawful actions or to try to dismantle the Constitution. So I see people wanting to be more engaged, and that's a good thing. For whatever reason that people are doing this, those are all personal. And I don't want to put a blanket response on all of them, but we welcome it because it shows us, at least with one metric, that people care and that they want to get civically engaged.
Let's go to Diane in Waltham. Hello, Diane. You're on with Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor to speak to you.
Well, thank you, Diane.
As the Attorney General of, you're welcome. As the Attorney General of Massachusetts, what do you plan to do to address the abuses and civil rights violations that the Disability Law Center reports are happening every day to people, human beings, with severe mental illnesses, intellectual disabilities, cognitive and physical disabilities at Bridgewater State Hospital.
So we've done a lot in this case, but I might ask Diane if you could stay on, because this could take a little time, and I know we don't have a lot of time. It's an honor to hear you. We work closely with the Disability Law Center, not just on Bridgewater, but a whole host of matters, including at times being in conversation on oversight, continued oversight once a settlement agreement has been reached to ensure that that settlement is actually implemented. So if you could stay on, can we follow up with you?
Yes, please. I really would like that.
That would be great. So stay on. Martin's going to get your contact, and we'll follow up through our Civil Rights Division, but also some other team members who are directly involved in this, but also some other matters affecting this particular population.
Diane, thank you. Don't
Thank
go
you for
away, as
calling
the
in.
Attorney General said.
Yeah.
You know, Attorney General, we've talked to you a lot about the MBTA Communities Act. This was a law requiring zoning changes in, I think, 177 communities that abut a T-stop, that sort of thing. Passed under Baker, clear commitment from Governor Baker, I'm sorry. Clearly supported in a big way. I was going to say strongly, but I don't use that word anymore for obvious reasons, by both the governor and bigly, I should say that.
Bigly.
By
Never seen anything
both
like
the
it.
governor and you. There was a really interesting piece a few months ago in the Globe that we've never talked to you about, that some communities are legally circumventing the requirements of the MBTA Communities Act, and they give examples of things like allowing 4-story buildings in an area that already has 3-story buildings, and obviously they're not going to tear down the building to build a 4-story building. And the piece in the Globe suggests, a couple of pieces in the Globe, that rather than the goal of 300,000 additional units, I think I have the number right, it may end up there are only 30,000 additional units. Does this concern you? Does the law need to be amended to ensure that these sort of backdoor ways of avoiding the mandate don't exist? What's your reaction to this?
So mine is we have to enforce the MBTA Communities Law, which we've been doing. I'm actually proud. I was getting the numbers this morning. We have 158 out of 177 municipalities that have adopted zoning. Even Marshfield adopted compliant zoning, even though they have a matter before the court that we think the court will say there's no merit because it's not the MBTA Communities Law is not an unfunded mandate. So these hiccups along the way have held us back from implementing it in its fullest force. But let's be clear, the MBTA Communities Law was only one tool to try to solve our housing crisis. We have to do a lot more. And I think it includes more zoning changes, of course. We have the accessory dwelling units that my office is now actively working with municipalities on.
That's part of the housing bond bill, right?
But
Yeah.
building more
Yeah.
accessory dwelling units. We have to move development faster, right? Some communities do it quite well, others don't. But I think there has to be a posture from everyone in this state that right now the number one issue is affordability, and the number one issue under affordability is housing. It's too expensive for renters, owners, people are leaving, young families, elders can't downsize, employers are saying, forget it, I can't afford to house my employees. So we're doing our part by enforcing the MBTA Communities Law, bringing more communities into compliance, following up through our new housing affordability unit at that zoning level to bring about more housing and not have folks stand in the way of developing more housing, including more affordable housing, more multifamily housing. There are other ways in which to do that. Mm-hmm. In addition, one of the things that we're actively, of course, involved with is ensuring that folks who are trying to access housing, they're not being discriminated against, including folks with disabilities, to Diane's point and others, which is a big part of our housing portfolio. We've invested in our neighborhood renewal division that's doing more work with municipalities and taking blighted property or vacant lots and turning that into homeownership opportunities, especially in central and western Mass. So each of us has to do our part. I'm proud of our office because we've actually prioritized housing in a way that I think previous administrations haven't, given the tools that we have, including on MBTA communities, and we'll keep doing that. But I think everyone needs to understand that if we don't get ahead of this, and particularly on the zoning pieces and make it easier to build more housing, that jeopardizes our economy, it jeopardizes our leadership, and of course, more folks will want to leave Massachusetts because it's too expensive to buy a home and too expensive to rent.
I don't think anybody would quarrel with the notion this is just one, I hate that expression, tool in the toolkit. You didn't use that, but it's just one housing, an important housing thing, and there are others that are needed. But focusing purely on the MBTA Communities Act, are you worried that there are loopholes in it that will cause far fewer numbers of units to be built, that loopholes that need closing in the law?
I think that's a question for the legislature. I'm less concerned about the loopholes. I'm more concerned about towns right now enforcing the current law, which we've seen that wasn't necessarily the case until I and the team got involved. And we're seeing more towns come into compliance by passing compliant zoning plans. And then through our new housing affordability unit, we have the ability to go back to those towns, working with folks in the state legislature and the governor, to say to those communities, we need more family housing. We need more affordable housing. Talk about civic engagement. This is a place for residents in the municipalities. If you live there and say you're a renter trying to buy in the community in which you live, and you say to your local elected officials, hey, or planning boards, hey, I can't afford to live here. We need to build more housing. And we're seeing that happen in various municipalities where people are building more dense housing, more housing units. That's happening. It's anything, how can we model that? I was in Salem, they were lifting it up. I was in Somerville, they were lifting it up. So we just need more municipalities doing it faster than we have seen.
You know, a number of you are reaching out to us and saying that why didn't we explain what was going on with the disturbance? And one texter said it sounded like you were shutting somebody down who wanted to speak. Just to clear the record, we explain at the beginning of every show with an elected official that one of the ways you can speak to the governor, the mayor, or the attorney general is to speak to our coworker, tell her, Zoe today, or him what you want to say, and we'll get you in line. That person did not do that. They didn't speak to our colleague. They went right to the mic and started speaking, which we do not allow from it. We have no idea what he wanted to talk about, so it's not shutting anybody down. He then went to the side of our studio and was in a loud voice saying that he wanted to be on, he was being shut down, etc. He wasn't shut down at all. He was disrespectful, and both to the show and our colleagues, and we don't allow that. It's that simple.
May I just add something? I just wanted to thank the security people who took care of the situation. I'm very grateful that they were here. I think the gentleman in question had some issues.
Well, we don't know what he had, but we do know that we have no idea what he wanted to talk about. It had not at all to do with the content of what he wanted to speak about. Brian on the road, you're with the Attorney General. Hey.
Yeah, good morning. I wanted to go back a couple of questions. I unfortunately think that the Attorney General sidestepped. The individual had asked what to do if you're being approached by unmarked yahoos and fatigue. And she spoke of First Amendment rights. She didn't speak about protecting yourself.
You don't have to refer to her as she, by the way. You're talking to her, so just talk to her.
There's a few things. You could call 911, right? You could call 911. So in any context where you're exercising your First Amendment right and someone is approaching you, seeking to harm you, et cetera, you can call 911. You can look to bystanders around you and say, excuse me, I don't know this person. They're trying to harm me. Seek help that way. It's no different than any other context. Brian, to me, and what keeps me up at night at times is when I get complaints from local law enforcement where they've gotten calls because it was an ICE official, for example, who's looking to wrestle someone maybe for their speech or something else, and doing it in a way that is so egregious and cruel, where we have limited tools at times to hold them accountable because their authority lies with the feds, and the feds are not holding them accountable. So I didn't mean to sidestep, Brian. I thank you for calling that in, but call the police.
Go ahead, Brian, if you had a question.
People who are trying to, that's precisely what I mean, is that these people might just wrestle you down whether you're trying to exercise free speech or not. And at the moment when you feel that your life is in jeopardy, you're not looking to find out what the feds are willing to do. You want to spare yourself.
Right.
And you don't have time to make a 911 phone call.
So this would be true. So, Brian, let's take a step back. I'm taking my Attorney General hat off. I'm just being Andrea Joy Campbell. I'm walking down the street when I leave the library, for example, and someone is looking to harm me, or whatever it is, I would do whatever I could. I would call and yell out, maybe to security in the library, or I would call the bystander and say, I don't know this person, they're trying to harm me. I would call 911, I would yell out for someone else to call 911. I would do everything we can in any situation to protect myself with the hopes that you don't get harmed. And because I'm a believer, I might also say a prayer too, to say, I hope I come out of whatever the hell this is. So Brian, we would do like any situation, call 911, yell out for help, encourage someone who's a bystander to help you, and do what we can. And then hopefully, law enforcement, first responders get there immediately to help you in that situation and go from there.
Brian, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. 877-301-8970. We probably have time for one more, unless you've got something there, Marjorie, you want to do?
No, the only thing I was going to ask you, when you mentioned before about eviction records being sealed, the stories that I've read about it say it's predominantly black women that get evicted, and talk about how this hurts their efforts to get new housing.
That's right. So it predominantly affects not just black women, people of color, black people, black and brown. And so the legislature did a great thing. So this should be lifted up. They did do something here, which is now sealing the eviction records of folks and giving them a process which they go to the court to have their eviction records sealed, which then allow them to, of course, get an apartment or a home or other financial services and loans and things to build their wealth.
Yeah.
And why this is important is these are folks who went to court, for example, and their eviction was dismissed, or they won their case, but they still have an eviction record because it's opened as soon as the process is started. So later in the process, you might have your case dismissed, or you may win it, but yet you still have a record. So you have the ability now to go before a judge, an objective stakeholder, bring all the arguments, the facts, information, and have it sealed. What we saw, the gap is people need help in terms of legal services or legal attorneys to be able to access that process and do it well and get the information they need. So we put out a $300,000 grant to legal aid organizations to help folks navigate this process. And judges already are saying it's been a total success, because then once you have it off your record, it's a game changer in terms of you being able to access other loan products or other things that would help you build your wealth for you and your family.
Well, Attorney General, thank you very much for
Good
coming
to see
in
you.
today.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me.
Good
to see you all.
We have been speaking with the Massachusetts Attorney General, Andrea Joy Campbell, and we thank her very much for her time. We say goodbye to those of you who are listening on NEPM, but make sure to tune in to the fabulous 413 starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon with Monty and Khalees. They are so much fun. The show continues here in Boston. Coming up after the noon news on 89.7 GBH, Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey is going to join us on Zoom. We're going to talk to him about whether the Democrats should decide to end the federal shutdown or not. We'll also talk to him about his challenge from Congressman Seth Moulton. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's not over yet. More smart conversation about community issues up ahead with Jim Browder and Marjorie Egan on Boston Public Radio, right after a news update from NPR. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Central Square Theater with Summer 1976, Pulitzer Prize winner David Auburn's play about friendship, memory, and small moments that change our lives forever. Summer 1976 begins November 6th. CentralSquareTheater.org. An old-school detective puts off retirement to solve his wife's murder and untangle a ghastly web of criminal conspiracy. Don't miss Inspector George Gently tomorrow at 8 on GBH 44.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on Hour 2 of BPR, live from the Boston Public Library. It's our first interview with Senator Ed Markey since Congressman Seth Moulton announced his bid to replace the Massachusetts senator. But with another year to go before that election, we'll get Markey's thoughts on the job now as the government shutdown continues and Trump's threats to do nuclear testing.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then it's the Boston Foundation President and CEO Lee Pelton. In collaboration with the Mayor's Office, they're committing $1.8 million to help Greater Boston residents navigate snap freezes. He'll talk about that and his new op-ed about the impacts of the government shutdown on nonprofits like his. All that plus our Two More Things segment ahead in the second hour BPR, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Senate Republicans are again attempting to overcome Democratic opposition to a short-term spending measure that would reopen the government. They were unable to do so the last 13 times, and that's dragged out the shutdown to 35 days, tied now for the longest in U.S. history. Last time it went that long was during President Trump's first term. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are furloughed or working without pay. Services are limited. The federal food assistance program, SNAP, ran out of money over the weekend. Even though the Trump administration said it was tapping into contingency funds, it says it can only pay out 50% this month of what people normally get. That stands to affect tens of millions of people, such as Phoenix resident Shalise Hooks, who is unemployed and has a 15-year-old son.
It's hard because he's in high school, and when he comes home, he's hungry. It's okay, Mama. No, it's not okay.
Hooks is among 42 million people who depend on federal food assistance. Voters across Virginia are heading to the polls. In central Virginia, where demographics and political leanings have led to a blue shift in the once red state, Radio IQ's Brad Kuttner spoke to voters about what got them to the polls early today.
Though they didn't want to say who they voted for in the race for Virginia governor between Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Winsome Earl-Sears, two voters talked about why they voted. Keisha Spencer is a preschool center director in Chesterfield. She said federal cuts to programs inspired her to vote.
Cutting things like Head Start is terrible for our community. These are children that's going to be taking care of us once we're old.
68-year-old retired CPA James Walker says he's voted every year since he was 18. He said it was his duty, responsibility, and privilege to vote.
I'm worried about my country, and I'm more concerned about that. And so to that extent, I think a more conservative approach in this country is better at this time.
For NPR News, I'm Brad Kuttner in Richmond.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. He was 84. NPR's Don Gagné looks back at Cheney's long tenure as a Washington power player.
Dick Cheney grew up in Nebraska, flunked out of Yale, but eventually headed back to school. By age 34, he was chief of staff to President Gerald Ford. He won a congressional seat in Wyoming and later was defense secretary to President George H.W. Bush. After a stint as CEO of the energy firm Halliburton, Cheney was named George W. Bush's running mate. He was an unusually influential vice president and an unwavering proponent of an aggressive U.S. military policy following the 9/11 attacks. That included going to war in Iraq to confront Iraq's alleged possession of weapons of mass destruction. No such weapons were ever found. Cheney, though, was unrepentant to the end. Don Gagné, NPR News.
It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Everett voters are deciding whether their mayor should get a seventh term. Incumbent Carlo DiMaria has been dogged by controversy over $180,000 he received in bonus payments that the state's inspector general found were improper. The city council demanded DiMaria return the money, but the mayor is fighting it. After casting his own ballot today, DiMaria's opponent, current city councilor Robert Van Kampen, said Everett is ready for a change.
It's about restoring trust, accountability, transparency to a city hall that has lost touch with the people it's intended to serve.
DiMaria did not respond to requests for comment from GBH. Everett has already seen heavy early voting. And how you spend your summer weekends on Nantucket is on today's ballot. The Wall Street Journal reports voters on the island have two measures to decide this election day. One would put tight limits on rental housing, which supporters say would preserve more real estate for islanders, while a competing measure ensures Nantucket stays open to both long and short-term renters. Supporters of that question say passage is vital for the local Nantucket economy. In sports, the Bruins are at the Islanders tonight in the forecast. A nice day to get out and vote. No reason not to. Sunny, windy, mid-50s today. Mostly clear, low 40s overnight. Then cloudy and upper 50s tomorrow. Partly cloudy, windy, and 50 degrees on Thursday. 53 in Boston right now. 53 in Providence. 51 in Worcester. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Oops. Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. I forgot to put my microphone down there. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Tomorrow we'll be here from 11 to 2, but from 11 to noon we'll be joined by Governor Maura Healey. The Mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, will be with us November 18th. And one more programming note, Yo-Yo Ma, the legendary cellist, is going to perform here and speak with us on November 19th. Hello again, Jim.
Hey there. We're now joined by someone who will not be playing the cello, as far as we know. He's a senator from Massachusetts, Ed Markey. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So great to be with you. Yeah, not even a harmonica. I can't. There was a musical bypass operation. I think I thought when I was born. Nothing.
Yeah. Can you keep a tune? Can you sing?
Sister Karina didn't think so in the 6th grade. Okay. And I've been trying to make up for it for the rest of my life. She decided that me and Danny Ridden, we would not go to the cathedral. The other 50 boys got on the bus. I've been still recovering that. I'm in musical recovery program ever since. But I appreciate. I'm the greatest audience in the world.
Okay. Well,
thanks for joining us, Senator.
Thank you very much for joining us. So we're, of course, in this shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune thinks that the shutdown will end this week. So does that mean that the Democrats are going to vote to end the shutdown?
Well, what John Thune wants, what Speaker Johnson wants, is for the Democrats to agree to end the shutdown without the Republicans agreeing to provide for the health care for Americans, which is what this whole debate is all about. It's about providing the premium tax credit support. In Massachusetts, it's 337,000 people. I was at an event on Saturday where there was a man, Jeff, who needs cancer drugs to help him through. And he right now has been paying $30,000 because of the premium tax credit supports. He would be paying $300,000 if we do not get those programs put back into place. So that's what this debate's all about. In Massachusetts, it's 337,000 stories. Across the country, it's 20 million stories. And until John Thune and Speaker Johnson come to the table, we're not going to be able to resolve this issue. It should be one vote. We reopen the government and we take care of the health care of Americans at the same time. And right now, they have still not come to the table. They're in a political witness protection program scattered around the country for the last 6 weeks. And until they come back, until we see the specifics, then no deal is possible.
Senator, your colleague, Sheldon Whitehouse, from Rhode Island, was with us last week. And here's what he said, which I asked him about twice to make sure I got it right. He said that if you, meaning the Democrats in the Senate, could come to an agreement with the Republicans in the Senate on a fix to the Obamacare, to the health care issues you and your fellow Democrats have raised, he would vote, and he thought the Democrats would vote to reopen the government, and he didn't use this word, but I think it's fair on my part, and trust that the Republicans would honor the agreement that they had reached prior to the Democrats voting to reopen the thing. Would you agree to such a thing? Would you trust them to honor an agreement they made to get you to vote yes to reopen?
My perspective, there's nothing to be learned from the second kick of a mule. We had already agreed on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR, PBS. We had already agreed on USAID. They came in with a rescission after the fact, after the deal had been cut, in order to slash those programs. So, you know, the great humorist Oscar Levant, he used to say, covering a situation like this, describing the Republicans, we'll double-cross that bridge. So I don't trust them. The thing should happen simultaneously. If they want us to trust them, then we can trust them right now. We sit down at the table. It's pretty simple what it is that we need to do in order to provide for the health care of Americans. And if they're unwilling to do it this week, and then we allow them to get what they want, it's highly probable, given the underlying political pathology that they are operating under, that we will not get the benefits that we need for families across the Commonwealth and across the country.
So unless the Republican leadership in both houses and the president signs on to a deal, you would not vote to reopen the government. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I don't trust them.
Okay.
And I think I and the American people have good reason not to trust them, given what they have been doing this year. And given what Donald Trump keeps saying, which is that he's going to target Democratic programs. And that means Medicare, Medicaid, Affordable Care Act, Social Security. The Republicans voted against all those programs in the first place. And he keeps saying he's going to target them, and he's targeting Massachusetts. He's targeting other states who he believes are not friendly towards him. So his administration just operates under Godfather Part 1 rules. He gives everyone offers they can't refuse. And if you do, you just have to pay the price down the line. So I am absolutely not going to sign off on anything where I don't see what it is that the people of Massachusetts get for their health care, and that's 337,000 people.
We're talking to Senator Ed Markey.
Senator, tell us about your press conference on tariffs.
Well, the president has been acting unconstitutionally. He's relying upon a 1977 law, which he says gives him the emergency powers to impose tariffs around the world. Now, here's what happened in 1977. Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States. I don't think anyone believes that Republicans in Congress in 1977 were allowing Jimmy Carter to become a king, to become a dictator, to do whatever he wanted on tariffs at any time, and to usurp the constitutional power of the United States Congress, what the tariffs should be. So right now in Massachusetts and across the country, by the way, we have 700,000 small businesses in Massachusetts. 7 million people, 700,000 small businesses, 1 for every 10 people. And he's turning Main Street into Pain Street across our country and across the country. So I've introduced my bill, brought it out to the Senate floor, attempted to force a vote, and the Republicans have rejected it over and over again. And that's to exempt small businesses from the tariffs. 97% of all the businesses who are in trade are small businesses. And it's about a third of all of the trade in our nation. And it's killing Main Street companies all across Massachusetts and the country. And so we need relief for those small businesses right now and their employees. And by the way, with regard to the premium tax benefit, it's 10 million small businesses and their employees in America who receive those benefits as well. So he is absolutely punishing Main Street. And the tariff is just a tax on Main Street and on our families.
So, Senator, I know that nuclear proliferation is something that's concerned you for a long time. I saw the piece you wrote, I think, for MSNBC about the House of Dynamite, the film about nuclear attack on the United States, and make your case that disarmament is the only solution. In the short term, Donald Trump is saying one thing about nuclear testing, and his Secretary of Energy is saying something that is diametrically different from what Trump is saying. Where do you think the truth lies, and how anxious should it make us?
It should make us very anxious. America, led by Trump, is sleepwalking into a new massive nuclear arms race with Russia, with China. The United States and China and Russia have not tested nuclear weapons since at least 1996 because of the comprehensive test ban. So when Trump says the other countries are testing, he's just lying, or he has no idea what he's talking about, just making it up as he usually does. The problem is that we had conducted 1,000 nuclear tests before 1996, and China had only conducted 45. So we have much more technological sophistication. What Trump is talking about would be a gift to China if he began testing, then the Chinese and the Russians would as well. I actually think that he's being contradicted in a significant way by his own Department of Energy, because that's not really what he's talking about. I think what he's talking about is the news last week where Russia said they had tested 2 new delivery systems, 2 new missiles for nuclear weapons. That's a different thing from testing the actual nuclear bomb itself. And the reason that these other countries are testing these missiles is that the United States pulled out of the anti-ballistic. Russia and China are building more and more sophisticated missiles to overcome the quote-unquote Golden Dome, which is just going to be a golden sieve. And that's what the movie A House of Dynamite was all about. It was just showing that this whole thing is a lie, it's a fiction, and our own government says that when we attempt to shoot down incoming missiles, we're only effective 50% of the time. It's hitting American cities. You can't have 40 or 30 or 10%. If only 10 or 15 of these bombs get through, that's 100 to 150 million people in the United States. So he should be going to the negotiating table. He should be accepting Putin's invitation to extend the New START treaty for another year, which is the control we have right now on nuclear weapons, instead of provoking these countries into a new, massive, expensive nuclear arms race, which is going to spend the money that we should be spending on healthcare and education, environment, and other programs in our country for the people in our society.
One quick follow-up on this. Do your Republican colleagues not care about this issue, or they're just too scared to criticize Trump on anything, including this? Does any of them care about this issue?
I'm glad that he has stumbled into this issue. I'm glad that A House of Dynamite was released. And by the way, 22 million Americans watched that movie last week.
Really?
Million Americans. So Rand Paul cares about it. It's hard to find other people who care about it as well. But they should, because this is a very expensive $3 trillion mistake, which our country is right now engaging in. And the Chinese and the Russians are not going to sit.
By the way, that's 22 million people more than watched the Springsteen movie, just to be clear, for statistical reasons. We're talking Ed Markey.
Senator Markey, let me ask you a political question. It's election day today in many places across the country. Zoran Mandani is expected, the Democratic Socialist is expected to win in New York. We'll see what happens. But Mickey Sherrill, a moderate, so-called moderate Democrat, is her lead is closed in New Jersey. She's neck and neck with her opponent. I'm wondering, at the same time you see Trump's numbers really low, the lowest they've been in his presidency, disapproval across the boards. What do you make of the fact, I mean, New Jersey's often a blue state. Maybe she'll pull it out, but what do you make of her chances, and what do you make of people's animus toward the Democrats, despite their bigger animus toward Donald Trump?
Well, first, I have endorsed Mamdani in New York City, but I also believe that Spanberger and Sherrill are going to win, and win very substantially today, notwithstanding the polls. We really feel very strongly that there is a massive turnout that is going to be engendered in both of those races, in Virginia and in New Jersey. People aren't agonizing. They've been organizing for weeks and months for today. And we're very confident that she is going to win a very comfortable victory in New Jersey. But that's only going to be after all of the efforts today to get our vote out. It's there, and we are seeing all across the country people wanting to provide a check on Trump. And they may not agree with every Democratic policy, but they do believe there has to be a check on Trump. And I think we're going to see that big time tonight, and it's going to be a preview of coming attractions for Donald Trump's political life over the next year in terms of what is unfolding in our nation.
Speaking of the next year, you probably are aware you're running for re-election next year. Last week, Congressman Seth Moulton was with us, and he said, and he's obviously challenging you in the Democratic primary, and he said what he has said in a number of places, which is, one, he agrees with you on most or the vast majority of issues, but that you've been there too long and you're too old. What's your response to what the congressman says, Senator?
Well, this is the most energized that I've ever been. Donald Trump gets me up every single day, walking, talking, constitutional crisis, attacking all of the programs that make Massachusetts and our country great, from healthcare, NIH research, to our offshore wind and clean energy programs, on and on. These are the programs for which I have been fighting throughout my career successfully. And Trump is now launching an attack against them, as he is launching an attack against our very democracy. So from my perspective, I am up, I am fighting. It's not your age, it's the age of your ideas. And I'm still the youngest guy in the room when it comes to looking ahead and leading the way on the issues that are most important for the future. And I am going to continue to do that as long as I'm given the honor by the people of Massachusetts to represent them.
But you know what I do wonder, just on a personal level, Senator? I mean, you've been a senator, you've been in Congress for a long time. I mean, wouldn't you like to, before you get too old, take one of those Viking cruises or something up and down the rivers in Europe, or hang out with the grandkids, or do some of these things, that a lot of people say, when I retire, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. No?
Well, I get to visit Northampton. I get to visit New Bedford and the Whaling Museum. I get to visit the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. I get to visit all 351 cities and towns that have these. Each one has a unique identity, and it's a privilege and an honor for me to do that. And I'm not unlike you, Marjorie. I'm not unlike Jim. I started reading, the paper, in my case, the Boston Globe, when I was about 15 years old.
Yeah.
And so my hobby is politics. In other words, if I wasn't doing this in my role right now, I'd still be reading the front page every day.
All right, you're not a golfer, I guess. You're not a golfer, Senator?
I wish we could do something about it, yeah.
So, Senator, one more thing on this, though. We hear you. You are 79. You'll be 80, I believe, by Election Day. What's other than showing what you describe as your vibrancy and the newness of your ideas, what else do you plan to do to ensure that voters have confidence that age is not an issue? I mean, that decline in people over 80, for example, is often rapid. I mean, have you thought about medical or cognitive or other tests that you'd fully disclose to the public? What are your intentions to allay whatever concerns voters have about the age issue, Senator?
Yeah, well, whether it's Bernie Sanders or many others who I could mention, they are doing the job every single day for the American people. And I am going to continue to do that job for Massachusetts and for the American people. And obviously, the legislation that I've introduced, my AI Civil Rights Act, my AI and Environment Act, my AI and Workers Act, my AI and Privacy Act, that's looking ahead and leading on the issues of the future. The same thing is true with regard to my Health Over Wealth Act. That's to keep private equity across the country from doing what they did to the Steward health care system. And it's my continuing work on climate and green energy related issues. that will be a vibrant part of the Massachusetts economy, protect against greenhouse gases. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to be seeing me. They're going to see that I am still in the fight and leading the fight for them in the Senate and across the country.
We should just say there's a poll that came out yesterday of UMass Amherst. It's very early, obviously, not a year away, 10 months away from primary day, but Senator has a significant double-digit lead as of the moment over Seth Moulton.
You know, we asked the Attorney General, she was with us earlier, Andrea Joy Campbell, about ICE agents wearing face masks, and she pointed out that there's very little the state can do because it's a federal issue. What can you do federally, if anything, about face masks on ICE agents?
Yeah, and I think the Attorney General is doing a great job in leading on this issue. The Boston police do not wear masks. The state police in Massachusetts, they do not wear masks. And they put themselves in dangerous situations every single day. ICE agents should not be allowed to protect against identifying who they are. And we should ensure that we have accountability for all of what the Trump ICE agents are doing. We have to keep putting a spotlight on it. And if we do that, then we might minimize it. But there's nothing that we can in any way assume that Trump won't give permission to his ICE agents to do. That's why I've introduced legislation to prohibit the ICE agents from using facial recognition technologies, which is what they are doing as they move into settings where they're picking up the actual identity of innocent people with their facial recognition technologies, which these ICE agents are, in fact, using. And that's, without question, a per se constitutional violation of the privacy rights. So what they're doing is draconian, it's dangerous, it's surveillance at a level that led to the colonists 250 years ago on the streets of Massachusetts rising up against King George, and we must do the same thing. This authoritarianism does not make us safer. It actually makes the world more dangerous.
You know, Senator, last thing, we'd love to talk to you a lot longer, but the problem is, I'm sure you're aware, it's going to be dark in about 30 minutes. So we've been talking about this for ages. You, a couple of years ago, succeeded in getting the Sunshine Protection Act, year-long daylight saving time, passed by a mere 100 to nothing in the Senate. Pelosi's, Congresswoman Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi didn't bring it up for a vote. Any possibility of this Trump seems to say he wants one thing year-round, even if it's not this. Any prospects for good things to happen or no?
Well, that's my hope. You know, Trump lives in the Sunshine State now, Donald. And we are in the kind of the perfectly cloudy state for a big part of the year. But we both love the idea of the daylight being in the evening when people can enjoy it. And we just need the House of Representatives to see the light. You know, because, again, as we've said many times in the past, when it's daylight after work, people are going home, the corners of their mouths turn upwards. They just feel better. They're happier. And that hour is a very special, moment in the course of a day. And right now, it's now going to be 5 o'clock where it's getting pitch black in our cities and all across the country. And my hope is that I can build the coalition as I've done in the past, and where I'll move daylight savings time from the end of April to the beginning of March. But it should be year-round. And I'm not giving up, Jim. Politics is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And I've still got Marco Rubio. I now have Rick Scott, God help me, from Florida. And so we're going to keep working as hard as we can to get it over the finish.
By the way, daylight saving has no S on the end, Senator.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we really...
And you have corrected me, I think, every single time.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Jim is obsessed with that. Rick Scott wants more sunshine in the Sunshine State.
It's no different than growing up in Malden with my mother saying, "Eddie, you have to stop dropping your ing." Okay, so
That's right.
So
Your mother was
this
right.
is the opposite problem. I add an S, as do many people.
Senator, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We have been speaking with Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey. We very much appreciate his time. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to talk with the Boston Foundation's Lee Pelton, what can be done and what is being done about the food shortage because of the SNAP shutdown during the government shutdown. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR at 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, grab your hoverboard and set your time circuits. Our Wednesday watch party is heading to 1985 for Back to the Future.
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell is a gigawatt?
40 years later, Marty, Doc, and the DeLorean are still riding that 88-mile-an-hour blast. Cue up the movie, watch along with us, and call in to share your favorite moments. That and more on The Culture Show tomorrow afternoon at 2 on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping you achieve your vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding you from design to completion with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com.
And UMass Lowell, ranked #1 best value public university in Massachusetts by the Wall Street Journal and U.S. News and World Report. Learn more at uml.edu/rankings.
Welcome back to BPR. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Tomorrow, Governor Healy will join us from 11 to noon here at the library to take our questions and yours, obviously, for Ask the Governor. Joined now at the BPL desk by Lee Pelton. Lee is the president and CEO of the Boston Foundation, a member of GBH's Board of Trustees, previously served as the 12th president of Emerson College. Hello, Lee Pelton. How are you?
I'm great.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Lee Pelton. So you have a new housing report fresh off the presses. What'd you find? What'd you say?
You want all 300 pages of it?
Well, I thought you might give us a synopsis. I only made it to page 259.
Right, exactly.
It's not even out yet, is it?
It's not out yet.
So give us a preview.
Well, it's not out yet.
Okay.
Well, it makes a comparison between where we were 5 years ago to where we are today relative to housing. As you may recall, from 21 to 25, the housing market was really very robust.
Yeah.
And a lot of new homes during that period. We find ourselves in a very different situation now, in that the housing starts are a lot less than they were previously, and the costs are more expensive than it was. From 21 to 25, the good news was that we had these housing starts, and the average price for a new home, for instance, this year was just 1.2%. I mean, increase was 1.2%, and so that's the good news. The bad news, so much, is that we still are short in terms of supply.
Well, these numbers that I've read, do you mind if I just read some of them quickly?
No, go ahead, sure.
Because I thought these were so upsetting, really. 2021, a household that earned $98,000, give or take, could buy a house. The starter home in Greater Boston then was $399,000. Now we're talking about houses that are 4 years later. Is that 4 years later? Yeah.
Yep.
So initially they could do a $2,500 a month mortgage. Right. That was reasonable. They could afford that. Now, 2025, housing prices have risen to $505,000, and because of interest rates have gone all up and all that kind of stuff, your monthly payment would be $4,200 per month, and you'd have to make at least
$162,000 at the low end.
Yeah, which is, it's just, it means it's thousands of people
are priced
no
out.
Chance.
They're absolutely priced out. Yeah. And I think you've talked about this before as the MBTA Communities Act, which is supposed to incentivize cities to build housing, especially multifamily housing units in and around MBTA sites. And a lot of cities have signed up for that. Some have specific plans, others don't have those plans, but this is going to be a long run and really looking out into the future. I think
I've also read where some of the cities and towns have done an end run around by deciding that where they're going to zone for this and limits on the height of houses. And one of these stories talked about the fact that the hopes for hundreds of thousands of houses is not going to happen.
Right, yeah. Well, housing is, it's a significant aspect of how one identifies oneself. I think it's also a significant aspect of how we think about communities. And so that there are those who are fearful, I think wrongly fearful, that having these increase in multi-unit housing, I'm going to say housing, not houses, will disrupt a sense of community, whereas I think the case is that it would do just the opposite of that.
And by the way, we talked about this MBTA Communities law during the 11 o'clock hour today with the Attorney General who's charged with enforcing it. And she said the good news was, I don't remember the precise number, somewhere in the 150s of 177 communities are in compliance. But the thing Marjorie's referring to is the law apparently has unintended loopholes that allow some communities. Your own Luke Schuster is quoted in a piece in the Globe from Boston Indicators, which is spectacular, I should say, saying that there are those loopholes. And I understand interest rates is not something the federal government can control. That's obviously the Federal Reserve. Trump would like to do it. Labor, my understanding from reading the preliminary stuff from the Boston Foundation, labor costs are up, and I assume that's in part because there's so few undocumented workers, many of whom are involved in construction, as compared to what they were. Construction costs are up. We all understand a lot of the stuff, lumber, et cetera, we get from Canada is now tariffed. So some of these costs that are causing permit numbers to be as low as they are fixable by Trump in particular, should he choose to fix them. Are they not?
Yeah, and I mean you're absolutely right. I mean the future doesn't look good for us because housing permits down 44%.
That's amazing.
Relative to where they were from 21 to 25. And so what that tells you is that there are going to be fewer houses online going
It's a predictor
forward.
Of the future for the most part.
Exactly.
Can we are the bearer of ill tidings on the show about everything, but we've talked to you a couple of times about this down payment program that you have. So can we end the housing discussion on an up note? If people haven't heard about that, why don't you describe what the Boston Foundation is doing around down payments?
So we have, here's the plan, is to invest $25 million along with many of our partners. Some of these funds are ours, some are in partnership with others. $25 million for 500 families, and with the idea that those folks would be able to get into homes and produce, some of them for the first time, home equity over a 10-year period, which we calculate to be anywhere between $150 million for this group to, say, $170 million of additional home equity. So it's not only a way to get in a home, but it's a way to create assets for you and for future generations. We are getting close to halfway there. I think so far we've got a little over 200 families into these homes. We're working with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. And so, I think it's 213 at this this point, and so we're making great progress in that area.
Let me add one more positive note. I was speaking to a leader of a local foundation who said, and I wrote it down because I wanted to get it, one of the things he was saying about the Boston Foundation is you draw attention to issues that you have an expertise in. You know the community and the key organizations, and that in turn encourages others to be supportive of these kinds of goals. So he was describing you as a catalyst, which I know is part of your goal for not just the giving from your own funds and from people who've contributed, but for other organizations who may not have the expertise that you guys have. So that's pretty great news.
Well, that's why we are a community foundation, and it's not to disparage other foundations who also do wonderful, good work, but we are very much engaged in the community and supporting the community in just about every aspect that you can imagine. And we do that in partnership with the community. We do that in partnership with businesses. We do that in partnership with individual donors. We do that in partnership with other foundations. And that's that really summarizes, and that's the secret sauce, really, for us as a community foundation.
We're talking to Lee Pelton, head of the Boston Foundation.
So you spoke, this is before the two federal judges ordered Trump that the federal government had to pay some SNAP program during the government shutdown, or SNAP benefits, I should say. But you spoke at this press conference, it was on Halloween actually, about SNAP. What'd you say?
Well, I talked mostly about the need for food security at a time when the government has and will continue to limit SNAP benefits to our citizens, and I again I want to come back to us as a community foundation and our ability to work with the community to make sure that individuals and families have what they need in order to survive. You know, some of us are old enough to remember the Johnson's war on poverty.
Yes.
Well, this is a war on the poor by this administration that would literally take food out of the mouths of children and families. And it's really remarkable and horrible.
Can I just add, I want to repeat something I said to the Attorney General, if people weren't listening, to completely buttress what Lee Pelton is just saying about a war on the poor, is after the two judges in Rhode Island and Massachusetts issued their orders that the federal government, the Trump administration, had to fund this, they said, well, we only have enough in the reserve account to fund 50% of this. But this Judge McConnell and Trump and True Social said, in capital letters, I'd be honored to fund this if you tell us the pathways to finding the money. Well, the judge answered the request. Judge McConnell said the Agriculture Adjustment Act, I think it's called, has $23 billion in it. It's perfectly permissible to take the additional 50% for November out of that. Donald Trump has made a choice not to do something that the federal court has said he could legally do to fully fund food stamps. So it's not rhetoric to say he has chosen to starve out people in November across this country, 1 million of them here.
And that's why the Boston Foundation, as a community foundation, has stepped into the breach in a really significant way. You'll recall several weeks ago, we talked about our $2 million investment in SNAP benefits.
To food banks, right?
To food banks, Well, $1 million went to the Greater Boston food banks, and then the rest of it went to food pantries.
Okay.
So that was about $2 million. And then we are now in a partnership with the city, and with our combined resources, it's another $1.9 million that we've put into the system just since Friday, since that meeting with the mayor. So the community foundation, again, catalyzing and bringing in other partners have contributed $4 million to this issue, and we're not finished yet. We're just really getting started because we have reached out to our community donors, and they have been very, very receptive, by the way. And I want to really applaud those who have participated in this program with us, many of them part of the TBF community, some of them not a part of this community. Some have made very large gifts, some have made smaller gifts, and continue to do that. So in a way, to use that phrase, catalyze, we've catalyzed the community to come together around this issue. And I'm very, very grateful for all of the individuals, companies, and others who have contributed to this.
By the way, that
$4 million.
our staff is telling us that TBF, as in the Boston Foundation, tbf.org/SNAP is the donation page for people that want to donate.
Right, and if you're listening, I really encourage you to go to that page and make a contribution of whatever your means permit you, whatever your heart will permit you, because we have families and children out there who are going to be deprived of food. I mean, that's remarkable.
Just one thing I want to say quickly. I've been listening to a lot of people's individual stories, and a lot of people that are receiving SNAP benefits talk about that by the end of the month, they're already at the food pantry because they're not getting a whole lot of money. Maybe getting $200 or single person $160 or maybe a bigger family. This is not a lot of money. So that by the 20th of whatever month it is, you're already at the food pantry because you are out of anything beyond ramen noodles and canned beans or something like that. So this is making it obviously a crisis.
Well, that's why we're still at it. This $4 million is the beginning of something bigger. And as Jim has said, the federal government could fix this.
Yes.
They could fix it. But they're not going to do that, and they're not going to fully fund this program going forward. So there will still be a shortfall going forward.
What was very interesting? Yeah. In the Boston Axe yesterday, I was reading, I mentioned this to Jim, the states that have done something to help with either money for the food banks or just money in general are almost all, with the exception of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I don't know if they're purple states these days, but all the states that are helped out are mostly Democratic states, almost every one. And the states that haven't helped out are some of the poorest states in the nation. West Virginia and Mississippi and Tennessee, red states. So it's interesting that the democratically run states are the ones that are trying to do something, and the ones run by the GOP, generally speaking, are not.
Well, also the same with those exact 77% of the people who receive Obamacare help with their premiums are in states that voted for Donald Trump. I want to stay on this, though, for a second. And by the way, what you were doing and what the city's doing and the $4 million from the state is all great. But I don't want people to leave with the impression that it comes anywhere near filling the hole. And I know you'd feel the same way. Last month, I think the number we read was $240 million is the monthly contribution from the feds to the state of Massachusetts, and comparable per capita things to other states that are listening to our show. If Trump fills 50% of that hole, and hold your breath until you see the check, that's $100 million left to be filled. That's one thing. So people do need to do whatever they can, as tbf.org/snap or whatever you can do. We talked to another person who was at your press conference yesterday, David Shapiro from the Boston Y, who has these mobile markets that go to communities. But the other thing is, I don't want people to lose sight of it. I know you don't either. While the immediate crisis is a function of the shutdown, the big, beautiful bill that became law also makes huge cuts to SNAP, so that even if the shutdown was over tomorrow, and even if Trump met his full obligation in November, on the horizon, there are other huge food challenges for the American people, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. But I wonder
say it twice.
I'm just wondering, for instance, about all of the citizens in West Virginia who voted for Trump and who now find their SNAP benefits and other benefits deteriorated.
Well, I'll add to that. Andrea Campbell organized, I think, 24 attorneys general to sue around the SNAP stuff, and she took credit, and she should. Were it not for those lawsuits, these two courts would not have ruled that Trump had to pay. How many Republican attorneys general joined? Zero.
Yeah.
So apparently, because of their loyalty and fear of Donald Trump, they don't give a damn about people who will not have adequate nutrition for themselves or their kids. It's not, since you brought up the context, you've been around a while, I think it's fair to say. Have you ever seen an elected official who has shown such little concern for the needs? I don't care, governor, mayor, president, such little concern for the needs of just average, ordinary people who need some sort of a hand for a period of time from the government, ever?
Well, the kindest thing I could say, I can't remember. I can't remember.
Well, the
That's fairly kind.
the juxtaposition of the $300 million ballroom and the beautiful marble bathroom and all this kind of stuff. But I hate to burst anybody's bubble here, but my favorite podcast is The Daily. It's from the New York Times. I listen to it every morning. And this morning they interviewed people in West Virginia, and these stories were heartbreaking, But a lot of them blamed the Democrats. They think it's
Joe
just
Biden.
It's general dysfunction in Washington, D.C. And I think one of the biggest problems we have in the United States of America is the lying news hole and the factual news hole. And if you are in the lying news hole, man, it's like you're just everything is Joe Biden's fault. And it's it just was so upsetting. But anyway, it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous.
I don't want to get into political debate.
Okay, we won't get into a political debate.
Because your memory's not good, so you can't remember any
Would you like to talk about the East Wing and the ballroom, Lee Pelton?
You want to know something? Since he's on it, this has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
I'm going to talk in a minute about the editing of the Trump interview on 60 Minutes. And the thing that made it onto air, the 28 minutes, I think I have the number right. I think he mentioned Biden 8 times in 28 minutes. Do you know how many times in the whole interview, which is on, not all of it, 90% of it online, he mentioned Joe Biden, who you probably know is no longer the president of the United States? 60 times Donald Trump blamed Joe Biden for something that was going wrong under his administration. And the rest of the time, the economy's great because the stock, it is incredible.
Well, it's fortunate that we live in Boston, and
Thank God.
I want to give just an enormous amount of credit to our mayor because she helped bring us along together on this on our efforts to remedy the SNAP benefits, and we're very pleased to be in partnership with her. In this effort. So it's...
she's got a tough race today. Do you think she's going to come out ahead or no?
I mean, it's going to be really close.
It's going to be close.
Oh, you think it looks good for her?
Pins and needles. I think so. We could be up late into the night.
Lee Pelton, thanks for what you and your colleagues are doing, and it's good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you and for coming into the Boston Foundation, for helping out. We've been speaking with Lee Pelton, President and CEO of the Boston Foundation, a member of GBH's Board of Trustees. He previously served as the 12th president of Emerson College. Coming up after the quick break, just enough time in the hour for our venerated, much loved, totally worth your time, Two More Things segment. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Poet Kate Baer's new collection takes on the tension and abundance of midlife.
You're kind of holding both the feeling of I've never felt more rich and fuller and beautiful and like who I am, while also facing my own mortality.
I'm Elsa Chang, Kate Baer on her latest book of poetry. It's called How About Now, on the next All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Massachusetts Maritime Academy, where education meets transformation. Their Learn, Do, Lead philosophy is designed to deliver students prepared for global leadership in careers on land or at sea. Maritime.edu. And Forge Heat Pumps in Newton. Forge's in-house team designs and installs all-in-one heat pump systems that deliver heating and cooling year-round. Details at forgeheatpumps.com.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. It's time for our often canceled Two More Things segment, which we are not canceling today. So, Marjorie, take it away.
Well, RFK Jr., we don't know about him. His neighbors wanted to send him some messages on Halloween. So on the front lawn of their house, one of RFK Jr.'s neighbors, his name was Christine Payne, displayed a skeleton, a huge skeleton sitting in a chair with this big sign that reads, "Wish I had taken my vaccine." I love that
good.
one. She said her son has autism, and she said her neighbor, that would be Mr. Kennedy, is very active in anti-vaccines efforts, and she wanted to send him a message. Then there was, and she also said we have people running by and taking pictures of it all the time because they don't like what Kennedy's doing either. And then there was another neighbor who put up this headstone reading, "I did my own research," next to the headstone, referencing Kennedy's attempts to conduct his own vaccination stuff. But his neighbors were also, were not the only ones mocking him. Governor Gavin Newsom in California, he also took a jab at Kennedy, sharing a custom idea for RFK Jr. that included, quote, "a measles party invite." And this was in reference to the fact that in the United States has reached a record 1,648 confirmed measles cases, the highest number since the disease was declared eliminated in 2000. And this was a report by yahoo.com.
Okay, so speaking of the Trump administration, as we know, Donald Trump is very concerned, as are his fellow Republicans, that Joe Biden's pardons were signed by AutoPen. But apparently Trump is not concerned that he pardons people he says he doesn't even know. Like crypto billionaire, and my apologies to the felon, Changpeng Zhao, I think is how you say it, from Binance. Here's what Trump had to say in response to a question from Norah O'Donnell about Trump pardoning crypto's richest man, and he goes by CZ. Here it is.
Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt.
In 2025, his crypto exchange Binance helped facilitate a $2 billion purchase of World Liberty Financial's stablecoin. And then you pardoned CZ. How do you address the appearance of pay for play?
Well, here's the thing. I know nothing about it because I'm too busy doing the other.
He's too busy doing the other. And she had, by the way, to the discredit of CBS and 60 Minutes, a piece of the interview that continued about that, they not only did not broadcast on TV, they didn't broadcast put on their YouTube, where he says, I can't say because I can't say, I'm not concerned, I don't know, I'd rather not have you ask that question. He says that to Norah O'Donnell, and they do not put it on their website.
Yeah.
So let's recap quickly. CBS News pays Trump $16 million to kill his meritless lawsuit, allegedly because they inappropriately edited a Harris interview, Kamala Harris, 2 days before the election, he says, even though it wasn't 2 days before the election, and they didn't inappropriately edit it. CBS obviously gives them $16 million, then dumps this. And the $2 billion, do you know who that $2 billion deal CZ cut with? The Trump Organization. He pardons a guy he allegedly doesn't know. Immediately after the pardon, $2 billion goes into the hands of the Trump business. Any other president in American history get away with this for 10 seconds?
No. I mean, the level of corruption and grifting and...
Biggest grifter in the history of the White House.
I mean, like as I said a million times, I mean, Hunter Biden, it was like small potatoes, teeny tiny potatoes.
Well, you know what the good news is? He doesn't know the guy. So, I don't know who he is.
Okay.
I don't care.
Coming up at the 1 o'clock news, we're going to lift our spirits with 2 local restaurateurs whose new spots are highlighted by Boston Magazine. Tiffany Faison about Bubble Bath in the Back Bay. And we're going to hear about Darling in Cambridge as well. Brand new restaurant. Top of the list. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's because of listener support that we're able to bring you trusted news from NPR. Your gift can also be doubled thanks to our Matching Gifts program. To find out more, go online to gbh.org/matchinggifts.
Support for GBH comes from you
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Lizard Boy, the genre-blending coming-of-age indie rock musical about monsters, love, and becoming your own hero. Now playing through November 22nd. SpeakeasyStage.com. And Minus 33 Merino Wool in Ashland, New Hampshire. Since 1916, makers of all-natural merino wool underwear, outerwear, and New Hampshire-made socks. Their merino wool clothing and accessories are available at Minus33.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on Hour 3 of BPR, live from the Boston Public Library. You know, restaurateur Tiffany Faison from Sweet Cheeks, Fool's Errand, Tenderonis, and a Tournament of Champions win on the Food Network. In August, she opened a new location for her elevated, and I mean rooftop, champagne and wine bar that's called Bubble Bath. Meanwhile, Zimu Chen has been building the dim sum capital of Cambridge's Central Square, Darling. Both just got nods from Boston Magazine as among the top 10 new restaurants in town, and both join us here at the library.
I'm Marjorie Egan. So we were deluged with calls yesterday asking why Jim had left the show early. The embarrassing truth is, he went to celebrate National Sandwich Day, or, as is better known to our staff, Browdy Christmas. We're ending today with a belated National Sandwich Day celebration with you via call or text. What makes a great sandwich? Weighing next in the third hour, BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Voters in several states are choosing new governors, mayors, or voting up or down major ballot measures. NPR's Ashley Lopez is following the three-way race for mayor of New York City.
The frontrunner for that race is Zohran Mamdani, who is 34 years old, and he's a member of the New York State Assembly. He won the Democratic primary this summer, which surprised a lot of folks because he was relatively unknown when he entered the race, and he beat a former governor in that primary contest, Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo decided to stay in the race by running as an independent. In the last days of the campaign, Cuomo has gotten some big endorsements, including the president's, but this hasn't been an easy fight for him. Mamdani has a very energetic grassroots campaign that has engaged a lot of young voters in the city, especially on affordability issues.
That's NPR's Ashley Lopez. The Republican nominee is Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the anti-crime organization Guardian Angels. The three are competing to succeed Mayor Eric Adams. The government shutdown is placing new strain on federal workers in high-stakes jobs, the people responsible for keeping the public safe. Here's NPR's Windsor Johnston.
TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and other federal workers responsible for public safety are showing up for duty without pay. And for many, the stress is mounting.
You know that you have to show up for work, even though the whole part of your body is saying, no, it's not okay, it's not fair, I'm not being paid for my critical work.
Martha Wadsworth is a psychology professor at Penn State University. She says that kind of chronic stress can interfere with the very judgment these workers rely on to keep others safe. She says the longer the shutdown drags on, the deeper the impact. And for federal employees with families, the pressure is even greater, both on and off the job. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
The United Nations says people in southern Gaza have seen improved access to food since the start of the ceasefire. But as NPR's Aya Batrawi reports, food insecurity remains acute in northern Gaza, where a famine was declared over the summer and where no food aid convoys have been allowed entry by Israel in 2 months.
The World Food Program says meat, eggs, fruits, and vegetables remain very rare in Gaza. The agency says Israel is only opening 2 crossings into Gaza, severely limiting how much aid can be brought in. Food supply remains insufficient, and families are still struggling to put food on the table nearly a month into the ceasefire. The UN humanitarian agency OCHA says around 20% of households in Gaza report still eating only 1 meal a day. That's despite more bakeries and food kitchens now operating and the distribution of UN food parcels to 1 million people in recent weeks. And with no electricity or enough cooking gas entering, the UN says most are still burning trash to cook with. The Israeli agency responsible for facilitating aid to Gaza has not commented on the continued impediments.
It's NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Authorities have arrested 2 people in connection with a weekend explosion inside a Harvard Medical School building. Globe reports that special agents and officers with the Boston's FBI Terrorism Task Force, as well as Harvard University Police, have arrested 2 Massachusetts men in connection with the explosion. In a statement posted on X, the FBI says additional details will be released during a briefing just getting underway right now at the U.S. Attorney Leah Foley's office. Police reports say that just before 3 a.m. on Saturday, one of its officers responded to a fire alarm at the Goldenson building at 220 Longwood Ave and saw 2 people fleeing the scene. Once inside the building, the officer found evidence of an explosion on the building's 4th floor, which houses research labs for the school's neurobiology department. Harvard released images of the 2 masked suspects and asked for the public's help in identifying them. And Bob Dylan has accepted an honorary Doctorate of Music degree from Berklee College of Music. Rolling Stone magazine reports it marks the first time Dylan has received such an honor from an American college or university since 1970. Berklee is also hosting a concert tribute to him called Watching the River Flow, a roots salute to Bob Dylan, which will feature students, faculty, and alumni. The degree recognizes his 6-decade career and its impact on popular music. Bruins are at the Islanders tonight. We're at 54 degrees in Boston right now. I'm Henry Santoro. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with its Name Your Price tool, a way to see coverage options based on a driver's budget. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We'll be joined tomorrow from 11 to noon by the Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura Healey, for another edition of Ask the Governor, where she takes our questions and yours. Hello again, Jim.
I have great news. I have an announcement to make, too.
You do?
No more Trump for the rest of today's show.
Yeah, no more Trump. We're done. We're done.
Trump-free.
Yeah.
Our next coup guest got special nods from Boston Magazine's list of the top 10 new restaurants in Greater Boston. They both made that list. You know Chef and Food Network star Tiffany Faison from the restaurants under her Big Heart Hospitality umbrella, Sweet Cheeks Q, Tenderoni's, Dive Bar, Fool's Errand. Did I leave anything out? No. Did I? No. Maybe I did.
ProBlak.
But, well, we're about to. That's why you're here. And this latest venture, her champagne-forward specialty bar, Bubble Bath, which in August opened a new location atop the Citizen M Hotel in Back Bay, BigHeartHospitality.com. Next to our new face to BPR, Zimu Chen is one of the leaders behind a new, much buzzed about fabulous Chinese-inspired cocktail and dim sum hub, Darling, in Central Square. By the way, it's the location where the legendary Mary Chung served people for, I think, 40 years, give or take. She was spectacular. DarlingCambridge.com. Tiffany, great to see you, and Zimu as well. Thanks so much for being here.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for coming in. We've been waiting for you guys all day long. We're so happy to see you. So, Tiffany, starting with you, tell us about the new place.
Sure. Bubble Bath Back Bay opened in August, beginning of August of this past year. So it's literally right up the street at Newbury and Mass Ave. We're at the top of the Citizen M Hotel on the 15th floor. So you have this extraordinary view of Back Bay into Cambridge over the Charles, and then all the way extended through here. It's interesting because it orients you sort of in the city. It's not 100 stories up, so you see the entire city. So we have a full bar, which is different from Bubble Bath in High Street. So we have an incredible cocktail program by Daniel Andres. And then we have a really extraordinary wine list. We work with Charlie Gaeta. He's worked with me for years and years and put our wine list together. Grower champagne and a bunch of wine makers that we believe in. And then our food program is, kind of more snacks. It's more canapes. We regard this as a bar. It's not a full restaurant. We really want people to you can certainly make an entire dinner out of it, or you can come in and have a snack, have a drink, go somewhere else, come back after dinner.
Was that sort of Fool's Errand-esque? You may not remember.
Oh, I remember.
Okay, when Fool's
Pigs
Errand...
in a blanket, sir. Yeah, I remember.
It was
Jim
some
ate
party.
30 of them.
It's your holiday party.
For Boston, our holiday party. You were kind enough to close down Fool's Errand. How many pigs in blankets do you think you made that day?
Somewhere around 1,200.
It was a mountain of the best pigs in blankets.
I'm joking.
It was a lot. It was hundreds of them, needless to say. Tell us about Darling, Zimu.
Darling, we actually opened on July 18th of this year, so almost a little over 3 months now. Closing to 4 months, getting a lot of support from neighbors and just community in general. We're in the heart of Central Square, pretty much sandwiched by Veggie Galaxies, Your La Fabrica, as well as Zulu, the whole New Year's. Unfortunately, we don't get to oversee the whole Boston, but we do get a beautiful view of McDonald's right across the street.
There you go.
But that's why
it's lovely. It's one of my favorite views.
There
actually.
you go.
I'm so
Exactly.
glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
When you walk in, we sort of do create a wall to sort of just give that transition from, oh my God, I was just in Central Square, now I'm somewhere else. Could be New York, Japan, whatever.
And tell us about the menu.
The menu-wise, I would say very similar to Tiffany's menu. It's a cocktail bar mostly, just happen to have good food. Our menu is on the smaller end, about 10, 11 items from the food side. For drink, we try to keep it around 12 cocktails with great mocktail programs, wine, beer, what have you. Try to cater to all the clients in general.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with you since you're one of the owners of this thing. I was there about a week after it opened. The food, it's not a small, the food is spectacular. No, it is, and it's not like you go there saying, what a great cocktail, and by the way, I guess there are a few snacks. I mean, there's a real serious, spectacular menu. Why are you downplaying it?
Well, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm trying to equal play it, if that makes sense. I would say, we do, in the beginning of the opening of Darling, which is started about 2 years plus ago, we thought we were going to just do a cocktail bar because Brian and I will both have experiences in cocktails, front house management, but not to food.
Do you know who Brian used to work for?
Are you?
I was going to say, shout out to Brian Callahan. His name needs to be mentioned here. He's one of the most.
He worked at two of your joints,
He
right?
used to run my beverage program, my cocktail programs. He's one of the most talented cocktail makers in the city.
And he's one of your three partners?
Two business partners, yes. We are the two owner and operator. We do have silent investors as well.
And can I say one last thing before we get deeper into this? And you both brought food, which we'll, of course, talk about. We're going to talk about the state of the business. And if you're nervous opening something, did a wonderful thing. Mary Chung was a legendary figure. And by the way, for most of the 40 years, if you went into Mary Chung, she's sitting in the back of the restaurant. And it was thrilling, actually. Her legendary dish was what?
The Suan La Chao Show.
What do you have on your menu?
The Suan La Chao Show.
Which is a tribute to her, right?
Absolutely, yes it is. We have had, if not hundreds of people who, had their first date in Mary Chung or they met somewhere in Mary Chung for after dinner or whatever, after work or whatever. They come in, this is Suan La Chao Show, they just start bringing back to the memory lane of like, oh my God, I used to have this and such. When we first pitched to MIT about this idea, they wanted to sort of like us to pay some sort of homage to the Mary Chung's place, which then we say, okay, well, what it could be. We look into the Facebook group with the local Facebook group they have. We ask questions. We look into Wikipedia, which you literally type in Suan La Chao Show, Mary Chung comes
That's
up.
fabulous.
Which is incredible.
What is it?
Literally translate as in sour and hot wontons.
Oh,
It
God.
is spectacular. It was spectacular with Mary Chung, and it's spectacular at Darling, I should say.
And speaking of spectacular, not to get away from food, but my test of a great hotel, a great restaurant is always the bathroom. Now, I understand.
I'm with you, by the way.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Unusual bathrooms. Tell us about the bathrooms.
So, anytime I do a new build and it's not a retrofit of something else that's already there, we really try and have gender-inclusive bathrooms, gender-neutral bathrooms. And so this started with Orfano when I was trying to kind of figure out how to say we were doing that with signs that weren't ridiculous and that weren't like half a dress and half a suit and the things that were out there that you could purchase. And I found that you could kind of do custom signs. So all of the bathrooms are tributes to like some of my personal heroes.
Is there a disco ball we read somewhere?
Yeah, there's disco balls in all the bathrooms. So it's like Roxanne Gay has a bathroom, Pedro Pascal has a bathroom, Jeff Buckley has a bathroom.
Is there a view from one of these bathrooms? Did I read
not
that
that we
right
need to
or
talk
wrong?
about right now
Oh, okay.
because we're having a hard time managing people hanging out in the bathroom.
Because I thought
checking out the
am I
view.
wrong about this? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that one of the bathrooms you could see out the window.
100%. You can see all the way over to the Charles.
Okay, so you're there.
It's a little more romantic than I'd like it to be in a bathroom, if you know what I'm saying.
So you're in the bathroom.
Not alone.
I think we know what she's saying, Margaret. I don't think we need to go.
Wow. Okay. Good for you, Tiffany.
You
I
are
love it.
Not me.
Is it fair to say you were not a risk-averse person? I mean, you Orfano, I loved Orfano.
Yeah.
How long did Orfano last?
Like about 10 minutes into the pandemic.
Okay, and you had tenderonis down at High Street, which is fabulous. You tried it there. That didn't work out.
Yeah, I think the neighborhood changed really significantly.
So are you, and this is an extension, this is a larger bubble bath, a larger version. Are you nervous or are you?
Yeah, there's always a calculated risk, but I don't think, look, there's a lot to be really concerned about with the world and tariffs and things that affect small businesses, and it's harder than it has ever been for us. That doesn't mean that we put on the brakes full stop. Like if we don't continue, we don't reflect our community in the things that are important to all of us. Like, I don't want to get, too far off topic, but
please do.
We're ceding our lives to billionaires, and I don't see like the want from this administration to support small businesses. And so if we don't continue hitting the gas, we'll crumble.
Tiffany, what are the biggest impacts of the tariffs that you see?
Everything you see here. So all of like our takeout, in terms of like everything that this touches, any type of like takeout container, that's all affected by tariffs. Some things, whether it's, we see a lot of farms are being affected. That's not tariffs, but that's like, prices are going through the roof in terms of us being able to support smaller farms and make sure that they're meaningful. We have lobster in and out of season that starts to go to Canada because the waters are colder and it's more sustainable up there. So when you see all of our lobster prices around town go through the roof, it's because we're not getting it from Maine anymore. We're getting it from Canada.
Gulf of Maine, we learned, I can't remember, was it David Label or something, is warming faster than 99% of the bodies. What are the biggest challenges you guys are facing? Each of you have restaurant backgrounds. I mean, not quite the Tiffany thing with, a bunch of restaurants under her umbrella. What are the biggest challenges you're facing in 2025 over there?
I'll say, depending on the different stages of the restaurant, we face a lot of different challenges. As for right now, the biggest challenge we face is actually just to keep it up. And frankly speaking, it sounds less humble than it is, but it's just like we got so much support from the neighbors and communities. We're trying to do our best to make sure when people do come to the restaurant, they're having a good time. And as Tiffany was mentioning, the economy is not doing too well. So people, whenever they do, we want to make it count. Mm-hmm. They don't go out, 7 times a week or 3 times a week. They might go out once every other week or so. Keeping it up.
Kill your darlings is the phrase from which darling comes,
That's
read.
Correct.
Neither of us had any idea. Do you know what kill your darlings means, Tiffany Faison?
Don't worship your heroes.
Is that what it means?
Actually, partially, but in this case, it would be a written term. Basically means that if you're getting stuck with an idea when you're doing the writings or movie making or whatever it might be, creativity creations in general. Kill your darling means that might be beautiful, but you want to kill that, move forward with it, so you'll continue to have that creativity of flows.
I'm stuck on things every single day, and not move an inch.
Yeah. So, what I've read about, and I don't know if this is true, and you would both know being in the restaurant business, that young 20-somethings, 30-somethings
don't drink?
Yeah. Is that true?
It's definitely like an issue that we are seeing more and more. I think we're answering to a lot of it with lower ABV cocktails and spirit-free cocktails, but we're seeing a lot of like marijuana use. It's like kind of...
Yeah, I wondered if it was marijuana or edibles or something.
It's a lot
like
of that, I think.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things we have seen is that we don't see people staying home. Like young people are still going out, but their engagement with the things on our menus are lower. So we have to make sure that we're providing options that meet them where they're at. That's just a part of the world changing. Like it's challenging, but I see a lot of people get really arrested in our business about this, and it's like we just have to figure out different ways to move around this.
Okay, before we get to the food, which we finally got, by the way, you know what we discussed at our morning meeting this morning? On my honor, your biscuits. I mean, how pathetic are we?
No, that's not pathetic.
Okay,
that's a dream for me.
I want to play a little sound. Here's a clip of Chef Tiffany Faison back to battle in 2023 in the Tournament of Champions arena for the first time since her huge win in 2022. Here it is.
This is wild. Like, it's crazy because there's this like nauseous, nervous, like energy that comes back every time you do this. But there's only a finite amount of people that get to experience this in their lives, and to be able to like do it over and over again, it's pretty special. I think what you learn is like when you get here, you have what you need. In here, you have the tools or you don't. I think my style of cooking is really flavor forward, very technique driven. It tends to look very simple and not be very simple.
And now, in the Tournament of Champions from Guy Fieri, if I get this right, for the holidays, you're the floor reporter. What does that mean, like a sideline reporter in an NFL game?
Which starts tomorrow.
What does that mean?
The holiday version starts. So my job has changed. I'm not competing anymore. I am now like a commentator. So I stand right behind every chef that competes. We have 32 that start, not holiday, but that's 16. But on normal TOC, which we just wrapped, we have 32 chefs that come in to compete. And one competes against the other, and I stand behind one of them, and I take notes.
Are you unkind?
What's up?
Are you unkind?
I am their legal defense. I am the person that is,
okay.
yes, I'm their advocate, and I'm the person that's saving them from the death penalty, essentially.
Okay.
So they communicate everything they need to communicate to me, and then I have about 2.5 minutes to take all those notes, turn it around, and tell the judges that walk in that have no idea who've competed what's happening in front of them.
So you know who won?
Yes.
And you can't tell us?
Surely cannot.
Okay,
That's
fine.
great.
What'd you bring, Tiffany?
So I have biscuits from Sweet Cheeks. That's just for you guys to take home. This is the rest of the stuff is from BPL Bay.
Wait a second. I mean, don't gloss over the biscuits. The biscuits, and the good news is I think each of them has no more than like 5,000 calories.
Yeah.
They are
calorie-free, fat-free.
Would you agree the best biscuit
Well,
you ever
I
had in your
told
life?
you about the weekend that I went down when I first knew Tiffany, and I got 12 biscuits takeout, and I ate them all between Saturday and Sunday.
It formed our first bond.
I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and warm them up and put the honey butter on, and then maybe put some jelly or maybe not put some jelly.
Good.
I mean, it was great. Those were my meals.
Okay, I interrupted you. Keep going.
It's okay. So the rest of it is from BPL Bay. So this is the chicken tikka salad. So it's chicken tikka, so roasted in that style of chicken tikka with spices on it. And then there's a yogurt sauce underneath that has all of the hard spices that are represented in the spice mix on the chicken. That's mixed with a little bit of cucumber salad, mint, and bondi on top that has papadum to kind of eat it. This is our shrimp cocktail. Just very simple, a lot of technique, but very simple flavors, a spicy cocktail sauce, and then a Tobiko mayo. This is our caviar service. So this is kind of a truncated version of our caviar service. We have 30 grams of Kaluga caviar, our potato chips that we've just partnered with our friends at Salty Girl to serve it with their potato
great.
chips, and then all of the accoutrement, toast points, all of the egg yolks, egg whites, chives, shallots, and creme fraiche. And then we also have a full caviar service that we do with mini biscuits, caviar cannoli, like you can kind of DIY. The cart comes out to the table.
It's sort of like at Orfano. You had the cart making drinks.
That was martinis, yeah.
That was
so this
spectacular,
is
too.
the caviar version.
How about you there, Zimu? What'd you bring?
Oh, I bring two very simple dishes. The $8 cucumber on the menu, as well as our dessert, which is the OG burn cheesecake by Korean Mama.
Oof.
Beautiful.
I had the cucumbers when I was there, by the way. They were spectacular then, and they look beautiful now.
We've known Tiffany for a while, but Zimu, how did you get into this business? How did the cooking thing start for you?
I think it come from eating. The cooking things come from eating, literally. According to my mom, raising one kid is like raising 3 kids. That's how much I eat. So I have always enjoyed and being a fan of food eating in general. So when I came to the U.S. and I finished my education, I walked into a restaurant and they asked me a simple question: "What are you doing after this?" I said, "I don't know." And they said, "Do you want to work in a restaurant?" And long story short, a little over 10 years from now, I'm here opening up a restaurant with Brian.
So you started out like in the back of the house doing the...
Bit of both. I did front of house for busing, hosting, and then, all of a bartender, server, management, and such. The back of house was I did dishwashing, I did some prep cook. I tried to make some sushi. I'm not good at it.
And you just fell in love with it.
I have always been in love with it.
Okay, let me ask you another kind of ridiculous question, but I'm always amazed because food trends change so quickly and people are like this and they don't like this. And how do you keep up on all this? You just read a lot of food magazines? How do you do it? Well, basically it's a stupid question, but I mean, some of the things you talk about...
How do you know what to talk about on the air, by the way?
Exactly.
The world's changing.
This is what you do for a living.
Well, because I read and get depressed every day reading the news and listening to the news. But is that it?
Yeah, we do the same thing. I mean, I think some of it comes really innately when you become really naturally curious about something. It becomes your life, and you start to breathe it like you breathe anything else. But I don't know. Some things are hard to keep up with. Like it's not food trends that I have a hard time keeping up with. It's like the ways restaurants go, and you want to kind of bring them back. Like everything is sort of like social media led in terms of like what's a vibe right now, as opposed to like great service and great food and great beverage programs. So
that's a great point. Social media can really do a number. Yeah. On I feel terrible. A restaurant that you've gone to many times and you think it's a great restaurant, then somebody says something nasty on Yelp and it's like through the roof. How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, for me, luckily speaking, since we're open, we have not gotten very nasty Yelp review per se, but I feel like you just got to trust what you do and do what you do and put your hearts into it. I think for the most part, yeah, sure, there are people who are a little bit more judgmental. There are people who are more self-proclaimed, food critic or drink critics and such. They always want to express their opinions, and I think we're here to listen to them. And you got to believe in what you're doing is right and keep doing it. You can't just be like, oh, that's it, I'm quitting because I got 1-star Yelp review. I got suck. But you just got to keep going because there are also people agreeing with you and think you're doing something cool. But that also being said, we try to respond to all of the messages. Of course, the taste is subjective. Of course, the experience is subjective. We want to make sure we're listening to them.
You know what your problem is? You're too nice. Let me tell you, a little more judgmental. People are a-holes who do this. Let me tell you, no,
we talked about the salty food. Should you tell people?
That was our thing the other day from. The answer is, if you're unhappy with something at Darling, you know what you should do? Walk up to you.
Correct.
And say, I really didn't like that. I assume you'll have a conversation with somebody. This notion that people feel a need to screw a bit. I mean, if you intentionally go out of your way to be unkind to someone, that's a whole other deal. Right. If they don't like a meal, they don't like a meal.
Let's ask these two experts what we should do. We debated this last week. We know nothing, but we debated this with our listeners about if you go to a restaurant, this couple got in a fight because they went to the restaurant and I forget what they had to eat. Was it paella?
They had an $80 paella for the two of them. Yes.
And when the wait person came by and said, "How was the food?" The woman said, well, it was too salty. And the boyfriend got really upset and said, you shouldn't have said that to her. Or you certainly should have said it over because she didn't cook the food. You should have said it to the maitre d' or the manager or something like that.
Or you should have said, I generally liked it a lot, but it was a little bit too salty. Meaning temper that.
So what should people do?
Talk to us. And you can talk to anyone in the restaurant. We are all willing and able to, everyone that works in our spaces, I'll speak to what we do, I think Drew feels the same, is empowered to have a conversation with the right people. If that's not something they can deal with with this guest, we can get the right person, the chef, the general manager, whoever. We would only love to fix it while you're here if we've done something.
So it's okay to say to the wait person, this is too salty.
For sure. Let us know. You can fix it while you're there.
Before could I ask you a favor that's probably inappropriate? Since it's too far away, could you prepare me a little toast and caviar thing,
so happy
the
to.
way it should be,
chips
and then hand it up, whatever you choose. I'm sorry, Zimu.
No. I will say that it's also true to the restaurant to make an observation. I think that's very important. There's a reason why we have managers on the floor. There's a reason why myself and Brian were walking around the restaurant all the time. It's called not everybody feels comfortable in expressing themselves, which they have the right to do so. And we actually go there to take a look. Are you drinking your water too fast? Are you not touching this expensive dish you ordered, but you're not enjoying them and such?
What's coming back on the plates?
What's that?
What's coming back on the plates? The best thing you can do is stand at the dish pit, and between not just dealing with guests, but standing at the dish pit. Something consistently coming back on plates that people aren't talking to you about, the dish is not working.
You won't remember this conversation you and I had about a year ago, Tiffany, but I went to one of your restaurants, and you said, what'd you think? And with the whole family, and I said, everybody loved everything. And you said to me, quote, I don't want to know what you liked. I want to know what you didn't like.
Yeah.
Which I thought was incredibly grown up, because I would never, you can pass that along here. Thank you very much. What's on that thing again? Can you tell me?
This is Kaluga caviar on a potato chip with a little bit of creme fraiche and chive. Do you want one, Marjorie?
The shrimp, the spices, perfect.
I have not had caviar since breakfast, by the way, so it's been a long time.
It's been too long.
Two last things from me before you guys go.
And I have a very important last question.
Well, the first thing that I wanted to say is I've gotten into this thing, and I know listeners are sick of me doing it, so my apologies, but I've really gotten stuck on this. A couple of years ago, when maybe it was the end of COVID or the beginning, I don't know when it was, Andres Nelson's from the BSO was here, and Andres said he speaks 7 languages, and he speaks as beautifully as he conducts. And he said how much more important art is, music, whatever, in troubled times when people are feeling oppressed. And a couple of weeks ago, when some of your colleagues were here, why are you making a face?
No, we've heard the story about
I know, but they have new people. Fine.
Okay.
Thank you for frowning at me. I appreciate it. Food is in that same category, isn't it? Doesn't it take on even greater importance when the world is miserable and people are having a hard time?
I think you lean towards the things that provide joy. And I think that's food, and that's art, and that's community, and that's us all just coming together around things that we value as
Do you subscribe to that notion?
Oh, I actually add on top of that. I think it's drink, I think it's service, I think it's the atmosphere. When people are having a bad time, come transit into a different atmosphere.
That is exactly how I see it. Now, you had one final question that I'm going to frown at.
Okay, well, you can frown at it because you frowned at me before about this. I'm not really much of a gourmet. I eat a lot of peanut butter. And I was talking to Zimu about his favorite sandwich before we went on the air. And what did you say your favorite sandwich
Dry
is?
toasted wheat bread with peanut butter and banana or blueberry or blackberry. Yes.
Okay, there you go. I have been validated and vindicated because we're going to talk to our listeners in a few minutes about their favorite sandwiches, and that is my favorite sandwich. And Jim has made fun of me for
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
You know what yesterday was, Tiffany Faison? National Sandwich Day. What's your favorite sandwich?
It depends, but a good Italian is really hard to beat. But
Yeah.
Why'd you stop yourself mid-sentence?
Because we're about to put a sandwich place somewhere in Boston.
You are?
Yeah, in the spring. So.
When are we going to hear about that?
I don't know.
When you hear about it, you'll hear about it.
Also, it's worth mentioning that we are doing like a fast casual version of Tiger Mama. We're doing Tiger Baby in High Street Place in
neat.
December. So,
Great.
Tiger Mama was I still don't know why you closed the restaurant, but that's your business, not mine. Wow. It was doing fine. It was doing great, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
Okay, fine.
I wouldn't.
Okay, fine.
I did my part. We were there an awful lot.
We love Tiger Mom. Hey, congratulations for both of you making the Boston Magazine list. We've been to your place. It's great. We're going to be at your place in the next couple of weeks. Everything else you touch turns to great things, so we're sure this will too.
Thank you so much for coming in. It was very much
Be well.
appreciated, and congratulations. We've been speaking with chef and restaurateur Tiffany Faison from Bubble Bath, her new place. Also Sweet Cheeks, Q, Tenderonis, Dive Bar, and more. You can find out everything about Tiffany, Fool's Errand, that's right, by going to bighearthospitality.com. And Zimu Chen with Darling in Central Square. DarlingCambridge.com is the website. These places, Boston Magazine just picked them out as among the 10 top new restaurants in the whole city. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay.
Great to see you both. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for coming in. Coming up after this quick break, we're always on the cutting edge here at BPR. As Jim just said, yesterday was National Sandwich Day, but because Jim slithered out the back door yesterday at 1 o'clock, he was celebrating Sandwich Day without us. Today, we're actually going to talk about your favorite sandwiches. You got two pieces of bread. What are you sticking between them? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listen to BPR on 89.7 GBH Live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Arun Roth. Coming up on GBH's All Things Considered, it's Election Day. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu is coasting to a second term, but key races in Somerville and Everett could get interesting. And today on The Extra Point with Esteban Bustillos, we're hearing some local reaction to the NBA betting scandal that's led to multiple arrests, including some players and coaches. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping you achieve your vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding you from design to completion with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com. And the Boston Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, featuring Guy Bronstein and cellist Zvi Plesser, performing November 7th at Symphony Hall. Tickets at bostonphil.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News tomorrow from 11 to 12. The governor's with us, Maura Healey. By the way, during the break, we tasted everything else that Zimu and Tiffany brought us, and everything from the cheesecake and that little thing to the cucumbers to the caviar to the chicken. Everything was spectacular. Check them out. Darling in Central Square, and Bubble Bath atop the Citizen M Hotel. Yesterday was National Sandwich Day. Naturally, I had to leave early to go get a sandwich for myself. I'm told you and Jared, Marjorie, had a lovely conversation. Actually, I heard part of it with Chef Alexander Smalls, and then talked about family dinners. Everyone shared heartwarming stories about connecting with loved ones, didn't they? That was quite beautiful. Okay, but I'm back today. We're not going to do anything heartwarming. Today, I want to ask about sandwiches. What makes a great sandwich? The condiments, the bread, the actual stuff that goes between the bread. Is simplicity better than extravagance? What makes the perfect sandwich? The number is 877-301-8970. What's your favorite sandwich and why? We're doing this in honor, a day late, admittedly, of National Sandwich Day, which I try to celebrate every single year, Marjorie, and I missed it yesterday. I felt very bad about it.
You did.
Now, you and Zimu apparently have the same favorite sandwich. Is that correct?
We do have the favorite sandwich. Well, actually, when I'm really going to do my favorite, I know wheat bread is much better for you than white bread.
Yeah.
But I think white bread, generally speaking, especially Japanese white bread, tastes better. So I'm really going to do my favorite sandwich. It is Japanese white bread, peanut butter, and smashed banana.
Oh.
And it's just heavenly.
Yeah.
And you also have to cut it on a diagonal, I have learned.
Explain why that. By the way, I was going to say that in a few minutes. That is hugely important that you not cut vertically, you cut on the diagonal. Why is that?
This is something I have learned since coming on this radio show, Jim. I always cut my sandwiches in half. I thought that was the way you do it. Apparently, that's the Irish way to do it. I'm Irish. I didn't know this was an Irish kind of thing.
Yes.
The right way to cut a sandwich is on the diagonal.
Correct.
So if you cut it 4 ways, you'll have 4 little pointed triangles. And especially if you're going to dip like a grilled cheese sandwich into like some tomato soup.
You need the point.
You need the point. So it's very important. Emily Heil, who writes for the Washington Post, wrote an entire, she's obsessed with this idea of cutting on the diagonal, and she says you just can't do it horizontally. The superiority of a diagonal slice is undisputed, she says.
By the way, it's not just the dipping. You know what the other thing is?
What?
It's much more beautiful. A sandwich cut on the diagonal as opposed to the vertical is just better. So since you didn't ask me, what is the most important thing to make a great sandwich? It's not a close second. The quality of the bread is the most important thing.
You think so?
Whether it's, I know so. Whether it's your white Japanese bread, it's a ciabatta, a focaccia, whatever it is, the bread is the key. Let me put it this way. You cannot have a great sandwich no matter what's in it unless the bread is fabulous. Would you disagree with that?
I would not disagree with that at all, Jim.
Okay, thank you. 877-301-8970. I violated my own commitment. I said we weren't going to mention Trump for the whole hour, and I did. I promise you we're not going to mention Trump during the last 20 minutes of the show, so don't turn us off because you've had enough. 877-301-8970. How about you feel about a BLT?
I love BLTs.
Yeah.
The Newsfeed Cafe has fantastic BLTs. I love them.
What's the key to a great BLT in your estimation?
Crispiness of the bacon.
I don't think that's the only thing with you. Mayonnaise.
Oh, mayonnaise.
Marjorie is a
Yeah, you
big
gotta have
mayonnaise
mayonnaise.
kind of woman. I mean, serious. Are you paying attention to this?
Well,
or what are we doing?
I'm not. I have a new computer and it's not giving me my text
That's
messages.
shocking.
I'm trying to get
It's really
help
shocking.
about how to get my text
Good.
messages. So.
Well, I'll talk to the callers.
And
for the
plus, I
moment while
forgot
you're-
my phone, so that means I can't get
Marjorie
the
doesn't have her
oath to
phone.
verify on
If
my
you've been
phone.
calling Marjorie on her cell phone, which I'm sure most of you are, the reason you're not responding is why? Thank you.
I don't have my phone.
Thank you. Bob in, no, it's not Bob. We're going to get to you in a second. Sorry, my fault. Patrick in Eastham, you're first on BPR. Welcome.
Hi. So I would say that there is no such thing as a perfect sandwich. I think that the idea of the sandwich is that can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. I think the idea of the sandwich is that you can take like a smorgasbord of ingredients and whatever kind of tickles your fancy that you wouldn't usually be making in a big pot, but you can just put it all together and then you have just the flavor combinations you want. Like I can tell you in a month my favorite sandwich will be turkey with cranberry sauce and salt and pepper, that reminds me of Thanksgiving. And that'll be my favorite. And then a month later, it can be different. And then I think the whole idea of the sandwich is you don't need a big crock pot. You're just kind of throwing it all together. I got pickles, and pickles would be good on that thing. And you make a sandwich,
You're a creative genius, Patrick, if I may say. That is a wonderful point, that what is a perfect sandwich on one day, one moment of your life, may not be the perfect sandwich on another day. That is perfect start to the conversation. Patrick, thank you very much for the call.
You know what somebody just texted us? They talked about grilled peanut butter and jelly is incredible.
Yeah.
And I did try that.
Where did we read about that?
Somebody told us that before.
Yeah,
We're
they
talking
did.
about sandwiches. You just and you make it like a grilled cheese almost. You press it, underneath the like a bacon press if you have it or something like that. They can make a grilled cheese. That is fantastic.
Well, read
too.
the next text, which speaks to exactly the other anonymous text, which speaks to exactly what you're talking about. The key to a great sandwich involves heat. Grilled, pressed, or toasted.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, paninis.
Can we talk about toast for a second, by the way?
Toast is...
How great is toast?
Toast is
on
one
a
of the great
sandwich?
things in the world.
Oh.
Yeah, but toast is also plain. Anyway, if you have good bread, just toast and plain old butter.
Toasted rye.
But we're not
and you
talking about
smell-
that. We're talking about sandwiches
Well, yes,
today.
you are, because my other favorite sandwich, since you haven't asked, as you know, is liverwurst, Swiss cheese, red onion, and Dijon mustard. And you know what you put it on? rye toast, Marjorie. That's the key. Marjorie's so concerned with her text.
No, I got my text. I've been rescued. I've been rescued.
Okay,
yeah.
Bob on Route 2, you're next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi, Bob. What's up?
Hey, nice to talk to you today. I'm looking forward to the best sandwich season of the year, which is the turkey sandwich after Thanksgiving.
Oh, God, yeah.
The bread's got to be there, nice crusty white bread. My wife's bread stuffing, which it's got celery and giblets in it. The cranberry sauce, the fresh lettuce, and Cane's mayonnaise.
Listen to this
Can't
guy.
beat it.
Wait a minute.
Sandwich out there.
Wait a minute.
Sandwich out there.
Okay,
I love the
hold
joy
on,
in your voice,
hold on.
Bob.
I'm big into mayonnaise, Bob, as well. But do you want to mix the mayonnaise and the cranberry? What do you think?
Excellent question.
Is that good?
Oh, definitely. And you got to put the mayonnaise on first and the cranberry on top of it.
Okay.
Bob,
okay.
you know what you like. That was a joyful call. Thank you. That's two calls in a
I'm
row.
looking forward to Thanksgiving.
2 calls in a row that mentioned the post-Thanksgiving
That's right.
sandwich.
That's
2
why
out of
you
2.
never want to go out for Thanksgiving dinner, because there's no post-Thanksgiving turkey sandwiches, and you don't have the fixins left over either.
What was the last time you made a turkey for Thanksgiving?
About 30 years ago.
So you take home from wherever you go?
When I made the turkey about 30 years ago, my oven wasn't working very well and had the wrong temperature. So Thanksgiving dinner was about 4 hours late.
That's great.
And by the time the turkey came out of the oven, everybody was, in a horizontal position, and I was never. But it's good. No one has ever asked me to cook Thanksgiving dinner
I'm sure.
again. No.
Okay, so here is an anonymous texter says, don't forget the perfect sandwich is an ice cream sandwich. They are good, if they are good. Esther in Beverly says, good, not lean, corned beef on rye with little mustard, that's it. Corned beef on rye with little Swiss is about as good as it gets, too.
That's right, little thin, very thin. Billy in Fall River, my hometown, says the chow mein sandwich, hot, wrapped in wax paper, a Fall River classic. He gets it from Mi Sum, which is closed now. I used to get it from, where do we
You ate this?
Oh, chow mein sandwiches, they were big. My parents used to get them all the time on Friday
What kind of bread
nights.
do you have them on again?
Well, it was just kind of like half of a hamburger bun kind of deal, and the chow mein was on top of it with all the sauce. It was great. You get them in the brown paper bag, and then when you're coming home, he's got them in wax paper. We got them in the brown paper bag, and it'd be kind of like get a little sauce. By the time you get home, you'd be careful. That's a big one. Thanks, Billy. 877-301-8970. Let's go to Nick in Wareham or Waynham.
Wenham.
That was Wareham.
Oh, Wareham.
So,
what was the W? I got
to say,
partially right.
I don't know how often you guys are down in Florida, but I don't know how privy you are to the Florida Cuban sandwich debate. It's really
No, what is that? I love Cuban sandwiches.
Oh my gosh. So the Cuban communities in Miami versus Tampa, they're always fighting over where the sandwich originated. And it originated in Tampa, and the Tampa Cuban is the dominant of the two sandwiches. It was made by the cigar cutters working in the factories. Needed to have something quick and easy with their hands. And what separates the Tampa Cuban from the Miami is the Italian influence in Ybor City, Tampa, and they put a piece of Genoa salami on it, between La Segunda bread with some Swiss cheese, mustard, pickles, roast pork, drizzle a little honey on top. It is just the most divine sandwich you've ever had in your life.
Wait a second. Did you say Wonder Bread is the bread?
No, La Segunda bread. It comes from a very specific bakery. All the sandwiches down there.
Yeah, I've never had one of those, but Cubans are among the best sandwiches ever, so I'd love to try it. Nick, thank you very much for your call. We appreciate it.
Here's a good one. Fresh heirloom tomato, lightly toasted bread, mayo, and fresh dill. There
you ever had that?
Yes.
I'm not a vegetable sandwich kind of guy.
You're not?
No, you need a little something
like the
in
end
there.
of summer when the tomatoes are coming out, there's nothing better than that big, thick tomatoes, those heirloom tomatoes.
Well, I would love that if you put like a half a pound of corned beef right in there in between the 2 tomato slices. It'd be fabulous.
My favorite is a club sandwich. What is better than 2 pieces of bread and 3 pieces of bread, toasted and crispy bacon with all the fixins?
I would say, it's interesting they said that because I haven't thought of that. I bet you if there was a poll done, which I'm sure there has been, but we don't have, would you not say that the club sandwich probably would come in number 1? Or is that just like an East Coast kind of thing? I don't know.
It would not be my number 1, but a lot of people really like it. Okay, here's a little sound from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Used to be our favorite show. Larry David trying to get Ted Danson to switch sandwiches named after them at Leo's Deli.
My sandwich is turkey, coleslaw, Russian dressing. It's a classic. People come in, they order a Ted Danson.
Yeah, but you're not there. You don't go in there.
People are used to my sandwich. I'm not sure they show up, all of a sudden they're eating, the Ted Danson sandwich all of a sudden has herring and lox.
It's not herring. It's not herring. Oh, hey, shut the f*** up. It's not herring, okay? Instead of ordering a Ted Danson, People go and order a Larry David. What's the difference?
One tastes good and one sucks.
By the way, speaking of that, why
I
don't
miss
you
that
tell
show.
people who've never been to the library, what's a Marjorie at the Newsfeed Cafe?
It's a turkey sandwich. It's a turkey sandwich with lettuce, tomato, red onion, mayonnaise, and cheese.
It is.
Very good.
How about the Jim sandwich? What is
The
that?
Jim sandwich is an Italian.
Italian sub.
Yeah, Italian sub.
It's extraordinary. Would you not
It's
agree?
extraordinary, I would say. And I also like the BLT here. The BLTs are very good. The bread is really good, and the bacon is always very crisp. Nothing worse than having a BLT, and the bacon is kind of fatty. You know what I mean? Where
It's got to be crisp.
It's got to be very
How about
crisp.
thick? Do you like the thickness? Do you like bacon that's thick on a sandwich or no? I know it's
I
too
don't really
hard a
care.
question.
I don't really care. It just has to be crispy. Rose in Boston. What do you think, Rose?
Hello, Rose. We're talking sandwiches a day after National Sandwich Day. Hi.
Hey there, Jim, you may be familiar with this. I lived in Philly
Yep.
for years, and my favorite sandwich is the roast beef special at the 4th Street Deli.
Yes, indeed. Describe that to people.
Oh, it's huge. It's probably about 4 or 5 inches thick. It's dripping with everything, but the bread is amazing, and the restaurant itself is amazing. It's just one of my favorite places. I used to live around the corner from it.
Well, I've been there, and don't they slice the roast beef like insanely thin for that and just pile it up?
Yep.
They do, which is a
They
huge,
sure do.
That's a big asset. Rose, thank you. Even though Lynn from Charlestown says, I hate it when a sandwich is so overstuffed, you can't pick it up. You know what you do? Divide it in half.
Yeah, it's like cheeseburgers. Sometimes you get like that, and they're so thick you can't eat them all in one, but you have to cut them up. Listen to this one. This is great. Anonymous texter says you could add bacon to that grilled peanut butter like Elvis Presley did. Another set.
Wait, isn't that what he died eating?
Well, I think he had other problems. Peanut butter didn't kill him. The peanut butter and bacon sandwich, that is a great combo. Then you can grill that one, and it's all warm. The bacon is crisp, and the peanut butter is kind of melting. And Ben in Brighton says, as a good Philly boy, Jim, the best sandwich is roast pork, broccoli rabe, and provolone, preferably from someplace in Reading Terminal Market.
You ever been to Reading Terminal Market?
No, I have not.
Spectacular. It's sort of like Pike's Market. Is it Pike's Market in Seattle? And what they're trying to do at Boston Market downtown, Philly, Reading Terminal Market is as good as it gets. Danny and JP, you are next on BPR. What's your favorite sandwich and why?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
I'm sorry, am I providing feedback?
Are you what?
Is my call clear?
Well, the call is clear. If you're asking if the call is clear, the answer is yes.
Yeah, sometimes we have a
yes.
So take it away.
Okay, so my name is Danny from JP, and I'm shocked that no one has mentioned a Manwich Sloppy Joe.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
That's an important one.
Give me like any kind of soft white bun bread. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be super special. It just has to be pretty fresh. Like it's for everyone. A lot of people grew up with it. It's still the same brand, and I've made it with soy ground beef for over 25 years.
You have?
It tastes exactly the same.
It does? Well, I love Sloppy Joes. I haven't done the soy thing yet. Danny, thank you. I'm glad you stuck around. Peter in Mystic, Connecticut says, all sandwiches are fine. I don't have strong feelings, just listening. But if Jim starts in again with the side pickle business, I'm tapping out early. Weren't you the one that brought up the side pickle?
No, you brought up the side pickle.
What
I was
did I
talking
say?
about how I didn't want a pickle in my sandwich. It was okay if it was on the side. And
Oh,
for
the
some
side
reason,
pickle.
you ridiculed me about having the pickle on the side, saying it was the same. It's not the same. Pickles that are inside your sandwich are totally different pickles than the pickles on the side.
Can I say something that I think you find incredibly interesting?
Yes.
I would say for the first 50 years of my life, I never intentionally ate a sandwich with a pickle on it. I didn't like it.
That was a good move.
And you know what happened? By mistake, I ate a sandwich with a pickle on it because I didn't know the pickle was on it. Changed my life. Since then,
For the better?
For the better. Since then, I go out of my way to, not a side pickle, Marjorie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Peter from Mystic.
Yeah.
Not a side pickle, a right in there pickle.
Right in there.
Right in there.
So you're a pickle
on
man
the sandwich.
now.
50 years I didn't have one, and all of a sudden, it's like the light of my life.
I think we have a new name for Jim.
That's what?
Pickle man.
Inner
Pickle man.
pickle. Thank
Pickle
you.
man.
Inner pickle.
Inner pickle.
It depends on the No, as opposed to the side pickle.
Side
Peter
pickle.
asked us not to do it, but he shouldn't have brought it up if he didn't
Okay,
want us to
I
do
want
it.
the side pickle. You want the Inzi pickle.
The Inzi pickle.
Inzi pickle.
Inside the Inzi pickle. Now, here is, remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
I do.
She was with
Yes, I
Stephen
do.
Colbert on 2018, and he asked her a question that we hesitated to ask you today, but since she's was a fairly prominent person, to say the least, if it's good enough for her, maybe it's good enough for you. Here's Colbert, then Justice Ginsburg.
You're asking me? Well, you tell me what a sandwich is, and then I'll tell you if a hot dog is a sandwich.
A sandwich is 2 pieces of bread with almost any type of filling in between.
Does that include a roll that's cut open, but still not completely?
See, that's the crux. You've gotten immediately. See, this is why you're on the Supreme Court. Sandwich.
Yes.
So then hot dog is a sandwich?
On your definition, yes it is.
Well played, Lady Justice.
That is really, that is a classic
great.
30 seconds.
That is great. Who would have thought of that? She thought of that because she's on
Yeah.
the Supreme Court, that it is not really 2 pieces of bread, is it? It's a roll.
That is a very good point.
Opened up.
How do you feel about rolls for the most part? Speaking of the
I like
appropriate
brioche
bread.
rolls.
Brioche?
Oh, my God.
On a cheeseburger?
Brioche is the way, oh, God.
How about
I
a ciabatta, Marjorie?
Ciabatta is not as good as brioche. I get those loaves. They make all this great, the great, what do you call it, challah bread in Brookline. There's this great bakery that makes in Puttenham
beautiful
Square.
bread, too.
And, it's beautiful bread, and I can just eat entire loaves of that. I'm a bread
You know,
person.
your friend Jessica made a beautiful, she sent us a photograph. Do you know that?
Jessica's a great cook.
And she made a challah, which is
She made
really
a challah
gorgeous.
for one of the Jewish holidays. I forget which one it was.
Whatever. John in the
truck.
truck. Hi, John. We're talking National Sandwich Day, which was yesterday. Hi there, John.
Hello, how are you?
I think we're good.
I have this great recipe. It's sourdough bread toasted.
I like that.
Instead of lettuce, use arugula.
I love that.
Finely sliced tomato.
Yeah.
Crisp bacon, and a sauce with mayo, lemon zest, a drop of liquid smoke, and some
Whatever.
balsamic vinegar.
I could do that like right this second. That is a beautiful.
It is absolutely delicious.
Can you say the sauce one more time? Because I'm going to try that out. What is it one more time?
Mayo,
a
drop of liquid smoke.
Liquid smoke.
What's liquid smoke?
Lemon zest.
It smells like smoke. It's liquid in a little like an A1 bottle kind of thing.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use lemon zest instead of lemon juice because the
lemon
juice will make the mayo too runny.
Okay, good.
And some hot sauce and some balsamic glaze.
You know how to
Instead
live.
of vinegar, you use the glaze, and because you don't want the sauce to get too runny.
John, that is brilliant. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Here's a text. I'm with Jim. I love a liverwurst, raw onion, mayonnaise on toasted rye, and I always try to eat it next to a defibrillator.
Well, that's. By the way, it's not mayonnaise, it's mustard. Mayonnaise on that is not working.
You don't think so?
But a little liverwurst experience,
Mayonnaise works
a
on
thin
everything, Jen.
raw onion, and the key is that it be on toasted rye bread, I should say. You ever had liverwurst, I forget, in your whole life?
Yes.
Does it repel you?
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
What is the part of it that you don't like? Just
I
that
don't
I
know.
like it?
I just think about what's in it, and it's like bologna. You
Well,
know,
as
what's
opposed
in
to
it.
what is the meat that you like that is not made like
Well, I have to go. I sound like a real snob.
Crude, yes.
But I have to go to places that sell meat that is not full of hormones and additives and all that creepy stuff.
that? You're worried about growing an additional body part, or what are you worried about?
Just the whole idea of meat. They shoot it throughout regular meat. They shoot it full of all this
You
stuff.
ever had olive loaf?
No.
That is disgusting. That is really. Don't have it.
No. But I have had those the Jello things that some people still make with the marshmallows inside.
Brutal.
Oh, that's
not
brutal.
a sandwich, though. Exactly.
It's not a sandwich.
Renee,
the best sandwich, says a texter, is any sandwich that someone else makes.
There's merit to that. Renee, happy National Sandwich Day, which was yesterday. You're in Pepperell. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you. So I actually have 2 favorite sandwiches, one from a restaurant and one my Italian grandmother used to make for me.
Yeah, please.
That I would then make. So the first is from Philo's restaurant in Groton, the Lindsay's Grilled Chicken Sandwich. It's on a beautiful focaccia bread.
That is beautiful.
That is soft, not cakey like some. And it has roasted red peppers and a sauce with mayonnaise, and I don't know what they put in it, but it's really delicious.
Sounds beautiful.
And they serve it with, a side of marinated peppers.
Ooh.
And my grandmother used to make, and you might be familiar with this, a pepper and egg sandwich. So you saute whatever peppers you want, cucumber or something like that, and you scramble the eggs, and you put it on a nice ollie bread. And you can put whatever other condiments you want on it. And it was always popular with, family members and people. When you went to work, they'd say, "What's that sandwich? It looks really good."
Renee, that is a beautiful, you described each of those with great love, and that came across. Renee, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
We have a couple more here. Not much can top a good meatloaf with ketchup on homemade sourdough starter bread. That's from Rich in Danvers. And then Frank in Halifax says, my wife's favorite sandwich, get this, fried peanut butter and fluff sandwich.
No.
Can you imagine that?
No, I cannot.
Everything would be dripping, though. The peanut butter would be dripping, and the marshmallow fluff would be dripping.
What do you think about brisket sandwiches, Margaret?
I've never had a brisket sandwich.
That's not true.
I'm not.
You've never had brisket?
No. I haven't. I mean, I'm not much, I'm not kind of a
sort of like a
boring-
peanut butter.
It's my life, baked potato,
boiled
like the
potato
potatoes,
with
like the
mayonnaise and
potatoes,
salt.
like the roasted vegetables, like the peanut butter.
You're really
banana.
not adventure.
I know. Well,
or
some
adventurous?
people
Which
get
is
really
it?
excited about.
Adventurous or adventurous?
I think some people get really excited about food, and some people don't. And
Yeah.
you do. I mean,
I
you
do.
you love to go out to eat.
I do.
And you love to cook.
And by the way, every time I've been out to eat where you happen to be there, you know who else loves to eat? You.
I do.
You're denying yourself.
No, if somebody else cooks it, I like to eat it. But I think I have kind of I'm not a very adventurous palate. Let's put it that way.
Why don't you go wild tonight, by the way, and
Yeah.
have something really like crazy?
Well, I'm going to my daughter's house. I'm going to have lentils for dinner.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well that
gonna
is
have lentils.
really wild. So, Jared, what's your favorite sandwich? I'm afraid
Hi,
to ask.
Jared.
What is it?
Why are you afraid to ask?
Because it's going to be something really weird. I know.
No,
Go ahead.
it's not.
What
It
is
is
it?
Japanese, but
What
it's
is it?
the egg salad sandwich.
Oh.
That they make at the 7-Elevens in Japan, and I'm very, very hopeful now that the company that operates the 7-Elevens in Japan has bought the 7-Elevens here that they will bring the egg salad sandwich here. It's amazing egg salad on milk bread.
Oh, I love milk bread. Okay, is it just plain egg salad? What are the ingredients in the egg salad, please?
It's super plain. They don't add a lot of spices. It's just heavenly. It's like, I think they called the New York Times or somebody described them as pillows of comfort.
Is it mayonnaise on there?
I think so.
Okay,
Now,
so
Marjorie, excuse
what?
me. If I had said my favorite sandwich was
Oh,
the
here
egg
we go.
salad from a 7-Eleven in Japan, what would you have said to me?
I would have ridiculed Jim.
You would have curled me
about
mercilessly.
being the world traveler.
Oh, I should have said my favorite
Let's go.
sandwich is a baguette with jambon et fromage on the streets of Paris.
Let's go to Tokyo and have an egg salad sandwich.
If you notice, that's why I sped up to rush in that they're coming here to America just so I could derail that because I knew that was coming.
Well, you think about it. I would never go to a 7-Eleven for a sandwich. You go for milk.
7-Elevens in Japan, apparently, according to what's his name here,
gourmet
Jared,
stops.
are very different. Yeah.
Okay, when are they coming, please?
I'm a man of the people.
You are.
My favorite sandwich would be from 7-Eleven. I don't know when they're coming. I'm waiting with bated breath, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he
Let
made
us
that
know.
up so he doesn't
We'll go out
seem
on a
so
hot date to
effete.
get an egg salad sandwich at
We
7-Eleven,
will.
Jared.
Speaking of hot dates, I'm still waiting for dates from you, Jim.
Well, by the way, we spoke to
Jim's
our
very
fourth
busy.
at that dinner
Very
last
busy.
night. He is very interested in joining us.
Okay.
So we're going to coordinate dates and get back to you by tomorrow. Thank you
Okay.
for the invite.
I've been hearing that for 3 weeks.
You'll keep hearing it for
So
another
what's on the
few.
show?
What's on the show?
So we're going to be talking to Amari Paris-Jeffries on this election day, covering myriad issues, of course, facing the country. We'll talk to Mikko Nissanen, Boston Ballet's artistic director, about Jewels, a piece they haven't performed in 10 years, but it's opening their season. This is the Balanchine Classic.
Ooh.
And then we'll talk to Uli Lorimer from the Native Plant Trust, who gives us all manner of gardening tips here on the Culture Show, what we should do, including leaving the leaves, the new trend about not raking.
yeah. It's supposedly better for the nutrients in the soil, right?
Plus all the little bugs that live in there, so
That's
just
right.
leave them be.
I like to do the best from the nutrients in the soil.
That's beautiful.
And my extensive 40 acres. Jared, thank you very
I can't wait
much.
till the 7-Eleven from Japan comes to Boston. Thank you for telling us about it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jared. Thank you for listening
Jared
to another
Bowen.
edition of Boston Public Radio. To everybody who came down to the library, we appreciate it. Keep up with us 24/7 way of our podcast. Check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow we're going to be joined at the library with the governor, Maura Healey. She's going to be here taking our questions and yours from 11 till noon. Plus, retired federal judge Nancy Gertner. Comedian Faith Soloway joins us with her brand One Long Earring, a musical comedy group described by some as the lesbian Spinal Tap. Jared Bowen talks.
She's, by the way, she and her sister brought us Transparent.
They did.
The Soloways
Which I should
are
have said.
huge, yes.
Yeah, Transparent was huge. Anyway, Jared Bowen talks art and culture, and John King zooms in for national politics after the big election today. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our engineer John LaClaw Parker, our executive producer Jamie Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff, Maddie Guy, Bill Francis, Juan Jose Cadena. Thanks to our host of the Newsfeed Cafe and across the street at the Lenox Hotel. The Culture Show with Jared Bowen starts right after us on 89.7 GBH. I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Rowley.
Thanks again for tuning in today. Hope you can tune in tomorrow and have a great afternoon.
Violinist Jinju Cho and Appassionato led by Matthew Herzog with your afternoon stretch. That's Sasan's third violin concerto.
Support for WCRB comes from you and Music Worcester, presenting the opening concert of the Orchestre Nationale de